This is the D6 generation with your hosts, Craig Gallant.
No, cut that. Keep that. Someday it's going to be worth something.
Russ Wakeland.
You put me in an ATST with frickin' Wookiees attacking me and whatnot?
Now you're talking. And Stephen Buonocore in the third chair.
I'm like a fine wine. I don't travel well.
With contribution from Total Fangirl.
Vampires do not sparkle.
And our loyal listeners.
Are you crazy? That's like 400 hours of gamer nonsense.
Welcome to another edition of Rapid Fire, the roundtable discussion of all things gaming. Come here to the speed of an enraged nerd, charging the box office, guarding the sold-out next big thing, Super IMAX Sci-Fi FX-orama. Today's edition is brought to you by all of our fine patrons over at Patreon. That's right, these men and women are helping to fight the fight against boredom and support not too horrible humor everywhere. And this time around, that includes Peter, Adam Reeve, the cranky lawyer, Stuart Platt, and Benjamin Gaeta. Thanks, guys, and everybody else, go check it out and see what there is to see. I'm Geekly McNerdigan, your host. Today our panelists are Russ Nerdalisis Wakeland and President, CEO, and Guardian of all things geeky at Stronghold Games, Stephen Geekasm Buonocore. Let's begin. Issue number 1. October, when a young gamer's mind turns with thoughts of Essen, Germany. We all spend hours discussing what happens in Essen and all the news revealed there. In fact, considering how little most of us talk about Germany the rest of the year, you'd think that we were experts on the country for 1 month at a time. Question. What German state is Essen in? Rhineland Falls, Russ.
The north, eastern one?
Saxon-Anhalt, Stephen.
It's not Bavaria.
No, it's not that. I know that
It
much.
is not indeed. Nordrhein-Westfalen, of course. Oh, you guys stink at this. You are not experts on Germany. Issue number 2.
No.
The word geek is a slang term used to describe odd or unconventional people. Currently, the word suggests an expert, fan, or a person obsessed with something in particular. It may have a general derogatory meaning of a strange or otherwise obnoxious person, especially of an overly intellectual nature. Question. In the original Middle Low German, Germany, again, what does the etymological root of the word geek, geck, mean? Rollable or Russ?
Mentally ill individual.
Spanish Web, Stephen.
Extraordinarily smart.
Wrong! It meant fool or freak. In fact, in Austria-Hungary in the 1800s, the word geekin referred to freaks on display in circuses. It wasn't until the 1940s in the United States that the term came to mean men who chased chickens around and bit their heads off in order to gin up a crowd for the big freak show act to follow. Which is pretty much what it means today. Issue number 3. There's no denying that where films are concerned, it is a glorious time to be a geek. Whether you like fantasy, sci-fi, live action, or cartoons, comic book movies, or classical remakes, every month finds us with more and more glorious movies to whet our geekly appetites. But how successful are they? Question. According to industry bellwether website Box Office Mojo, how many of the top 10 movies so far in 2014 could be considered geeky movies? Gary Wallace Wakeland.
I'm going to go with how many total and how they did.
How many out of 10?
Out of 10. Wait, what? 9.
Lucas Bly Buonocore.
6.
Wakeland pulls out a general guess right from his behind. 9 out of 10. With Guardians of the Galaxy taking the cake by nearly $70 million, it is followed by such greats as Captain America Winter Soldier, the Lego Movie, Transformers, what is it this time, 4, 5, I don't know who's counting. And not until number 10, 22 Jump Street, does a mainstream movie appear. Revenge of the Nerds indeed. Issue number 4, and as much as this has been a great year for geeky movies, many say it's been a great year for geeky games as well. And where better to look to see the state of the geekly post-national collective than Board Game Geek? Question. Board Game Geek did its 5th annual Most Anticipated Games of survey for 2014 a year ago. Remember, this was a year ago.
All right.
Which of you can name more games from the top 10 entries of that list? Dungeon Roll Russ.
That'd be me.
That's none? None.
No, I can name more than Steven. Yeah.
No,
Yes.
You have to name them, I think.
I'm just claiming I can do it.
Prove
That's
it.
the nature of the question, right? I can.
And you lose. Steven.
I'm gonna guess that I have no idea what was on it a year ago, and I can't.
That's right.
Can't put my name.
No, what kind of experts are you? I don't even remember half of these. I don't know either. So I'm just going to say you're both wrong and say that's it for now. Thanks for listening and good night.
This episode of the D6 Generation is brought to you by GameSalute.com. Check out gaming news or find out what the new hotness is on Springboard. GameSalute.com.
And by Battle Foam, protecting your army so you don't have to.
And the War Store, bringing the war to your door since 1999, and that is for a decade or more.
And by Conquistador Games, focusing on immersive and thematic games. More details at cqgames.com. Hello!
Hello!
Hey, and welcome to episode 157.
157. It sounds like, I don't even know. It's a big number.
It is, of the D6 Generation. I'm Russ Wakelin.
I'm Craig Gallant.
I am Stephen Buonocore, president of Stronghold Games.
Hey,
hello,
Stephen.
guys.
Hey,
Yeah.
welcome, Stephen.
Hey, it's good to have you back on the show, Stephen.
Stephen, how was Germany?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, very, very good. Very good beer, very good gaming.
Now that we've alienated all of our German listeners.
Right. Well,
With
Germany
very bad accents.
featured prominently in Rapid Fire because on today's show, we're going to talk about, well, how Essen was with Stephen and how he did over there and how the whole event went. And then also later, we're going to talk about all the geeky hotness right now. Geekiness is very hot right now. Great TV shows, great movies. We're going to talk all about that later this episode. But, I mentioned Rapid Fire. And, Stephen, I think we have to ask Craig this. Craig, Geekly did not tell us what the top 10 most anticipated games were, according to Board Game Geek, for 2014.
No, he did not.
And
I think he was upset at you for derailing the bit.
The question clearly was, who can name more? And that would be me.
Not, you know what? And I must be like sort of channeling him at this point because I'm getting as annoyed as I think he probably was.
Well, look, let's bypass that part and go right to the list. So what were the top 10 games?
Now, this was a list from a year ago.
Yes.
Right, you don't want to do this in the geeky culture segment that we're going to do?
Okay, why don't we do that? So later in the show, we'll talk about geek culture. We'll talk about the top 10 most anticipated games of 2014.
Yeah.
And maybe we can compare it to some of what we consider some of the top games actually of 2014.
Right.
That'd be tricky.
Yeah.
We'll try that
There
out.
you go.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. But first, we haven't had a contest in a good bit.
No, it's been a while.
We just had the results of the last contest from our friends at Mantic Games, but now Stephen has been kind enough to offer an amazing prize pack.
He has indeed.
Stephen, can you tell us a little bit about this amazing prize pack that Stronghold Games is offering to our listeners?
Well, every time I do the show with you guys, and I've done it basically once a year, I think, for the last 4 years, 5 years.
It's been a while.
Years.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. We like to run a contest because what's better than giving away some free games to the listeners, and they're putting up with me again, so I think they deserve to win something. So what are we calling this? The Space Saga contest, right?
Yes, the Space Saga contest. We'll come up
That
with the
is
rules.
what Wakelin's giant cranium has.
Well, we got to hear the
come up
prize
with.
first because usually the prize informs the contest, right? So
Okay.
what are we giving away here?
All right, so the grand prize for the Space Saga contest will be, and drum roll please, you can insert that if you'd like, will be a copy of Among the Stars, the new card drafting game by Stronghold Games, with the Ambassadors first expansion, and Expanding the Alliance, the second expansion. And since this is a Space Saga, we're going to throw in Core Worlds base game.
Wow.
And the new second expansion for Core Worlds, which is Revolution. Core Worlds Revolution.
That is a lot of sci-fi hotness right there.
2 games and 3 expansions by my math.
And there's so much amazing sci-fi art in those boxes that it should be illegal. You're going to have
That's
so much
true.
art.
That's
Hell,
it's
you know what?
fantastic.
You know what? I can't just give away Core Worlds with just the last expansion that just came out.
Yeah.
We have to give both of them. So it'll be Core Worlds with the first expansion, Galactic Orders, and with Revolution.
So let me get this
We
straight.
gotta do it.
The grand prize winner is getting 2 of your fantastic sci-fi games with 2 expansions each.
That's right.
That is like a crate of Stronghold Games. Awesome. That is amazing.
That is a giant heavy box landing on your doorstep.
So
that's what that is.
So the grand prize winners got some stuff there. So what we're going to do is this is nothing short. These games both build out and tell an amazing story of sci-fi sagas as you play them. So we figured what better way to sort of get excited about these games than to have a space saga contest. So here's the thing. This is an audio one because big prize, folks. And this is open to every listener out there, whether you've never entered a contest, whether you've won 3 of our contests, doesn't matter. Jump in, have fun, get some fantastic games. I've played both these games. They're both fantastic. Really, really love both. Core Worlds is fantastic. Among the Stars is amazing. Just fantastic game. Plays real quick, very little downtime. It's actually a lot of simultaneous play. Great, great game. So here's what you got to do.
There you go.
To enter this contest.
Well worth trying to win, folks.
Yeah, exactly right. To enter this contest, what you want to do is submit an audio bit of a Space Saga intro or a promotion for a Space Saga, your choice. You can do the intro, like imagine an audio version of the Star Wars scroll in the beginning, or you can do an actual ad for a Space Saga. Right? Right, Craig? Sound pretty good?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
I'm letting you put your name all over this.
So this is the plan. Space Saga intro and or advertisement to get people really excited about the idea of a saga here for these games. And you're going to win, again, 2 major games, both with 2 expansions each. You will not be disappointed in these products. They're amazing. Steven, you guys did an amazing job. The artwork is just, I can't get past the artwork in these games. It's so good.
It is always beautiful.
Thank you very much. Oh, but we have to also mention, by the way, that we will have at least 2 runners-up.
Let's give
sweet. 2 runners-up.
Oh, 2 runners-up.
Nice.
What do those get, Stephen?
Besides the grand prize that we just mentioned, we'll have 2 runners-up, and they can get a choice of either one of the base games, either Among the Stars or the Core Worlds base game, their choice.
Sweet. Well, wow, that's a fantastic prize. So even if you enter this thing, you're going to get a chance to win this huge pack and good chance of winning a smaller game if you don't get the grand prize. That is awesome. So just like almost our contests, send them in. We'll play probably all of them on the show. You can hear everything. And it's a great fun bit. We'll listen to them. We'll send them over to Mr. Buonocore so we can listen to them. And then we'll get our winners in there and we'll announce a prize. Normally what we'll do is we'll do 2 episodes. So this is episode 157. So in 158 will be another reminder. And then they'll be due shortly after 159 comes out. And we'll try to give away the prize in episode 160. Sound like a plan?
Awesome. That's
all right.
Great.
That is the plan. And remember, Craig, where should everyone send their entries?
Now, children, listen carefully. If you want full credit, you need to send your entries to contest@the d6generation.com. That's the only place we're going to look at entries.
That's right. Contest@the d6generation.com. Please attach your audio file to that, and we'll be underway. So good luck to everyone out there. We hope to see some great entries. We should also announce, Craig, we just did the Lost Chapter. Do you remember what that was about?
I do remember what it was about, Russ. I think we did a Where Are They Now? And they're slowly crawling up towards modern times.
They are. We're like only a year away now from these. So this is like, where the games were about a year ago.
And it feels like they're still mostly not getting played anymore.
So we'll talk about that. Which ones have survived? Which ones have gone to the back burner? And what we talked about when in that episode of The Lost Chapters. And if you want to hear The Lost Chapters, what's the best way to get involved with us, Craig?
Well, the best way would be, Russ, to go to Patreon. Check out our Patreon plea video where we try to beg you for 50 cents, $1. If you pledge $2 per episode, you get access to any of the Lost Chapters that we've ever done. So it's a tip jar is what it is. Right. It's a way for you to help us and, to say thank you and become part of the show. As everybody knows, I'm taking a giant list of all the patrons and I thank them every week. That would be the main reason for you to kick in a couple bucks, but it seems a small amount for 4 hours of entertainment or what passes for entertainment.
Right. Passable entertainment,
show.
if you will. Exactly right.
Yeah, so that's the best way to get the Lost Chapters, or at least that's what Russ tells me.
I was not able to make it to Dunkin' Donuts that night because I was in Essen.
Yes,
that's true.
When that was recorded. That's a shame. However, I think this is a great topic, and everyone out there should be going to Patreon, throwing a couple bucks in there, and downloading this Lost Chapter. Great
There you
topic.
go. Thank you, Steve.
I really appreciate that.
Hey.
All right.
It's all good.
So what's the time now for, Craig?
What is it time now for? Probably achievements in gaming.
I still don't have that button on my chair here.
It is
Still,
indeed.
4 years later.
Button.
4 years later, I've been asking for that, and my agent still has not gotten me that button. I'm going on protest. I'm leaving the show if I don't get that button.
The third chair definitely has some intentional features left out.
That's true. Got to be careful with the riders, Stephen.
My contract's a lacking.
There you go. And now, Stephen, what have you been playing lately?
What
have
I
you been playing lately?
Well,
oh yeah.
Well, I guess you could say that I've been playing everything of Stronghold's new stuff in Essen, but I really didn't. I mean, I was doing meetings. The only game I got to play when I was in Essen was Diamonds, right? Our new trick-taking
nice,
card
fast,
game.
and fun, though. Good stuff.
Fast, fun, great. I actually played it for the first time in Essen 2-player, and it really plays interestingly 2-player because it's sort of a variant where you're actually playing. Each player plays 2 cards per trick, one at a time. All rules apply. I can lead in diamonds, with a big diamond, hopefully winning that trick. You have to, play a diamond to, and I'll bleed your diamonds away. And then if that's my last diamond, then I can play offsuit and take the second action.
Nice.
Without going into all of the mechanics of the game, that would be a really good way of playing that kind of, combo
neat.
there. So. That was a great great time playing for the first time a 2-player game of Diamonds and Essen. Now you've played, right?
I think I mentioned this, Stephen. We play at my office lunch.
That's right.
Gaming lunch. Diamonds is a fantastic game, and it's great because we have a lot of people who game at lunch. Some of them are gamers and they play all the gamery games, but some of them are people who really like card games and play their spades and hearts and other games like that. So, and they're less interested in some of the other games, but this is a great gateway game for them. They get in there, they understand trick taking immediately, and they love the twist of the kind of offsuit card you play gives you special powers for that moment. And the little addition of some bling to the game, the little gems and the little vaults where you get to put your stuff just makes it a little more gamery, but they don't really notice it. They just think it's cool to have those little gizmos there. So it's a lot of fun, great fast fun game, and a great game for folks who are interested in trick-taking games in general. And I've been a huge fan of Hearts ever since college. Play all the time. This is just a nice sort of interesting twist on that type of game. Really like it.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah, it's been doing very well for us. And then at my last boys game night, which is over a week ago now, was right after the night after I got back from Essen. So as you can imagine, I was not feeling good that night, but I didn't want to take away my friend's night there. So I basically had somebody else sort of run it. But this is at my house, so I was there. I played a quick game of Splendor, the mining game. It was up for Spiel des Jahres this year. Are you familiar with that?
I have not played it yet. What do you think of it?
It's excellent. It's not my first time I played it. It's a really good, light, family game. I mean, highly recommended it. It didn't win, but it really is good. Nice filler game if you want to play it really, really light. But there's some depth of strategy there. I got crunched, so I know that the person who's played it a lot has, they knew what they were doing. I've only played it a couple of times. And then I played a game of Among the Stars, Stronghold game that we just were talking about. And then I crashed hard because it was about 8:30 at night, and I said my body was on Germany time still, so I went to bed and I said, guys, close up. I'm out of here. And that's all of the gaming I've done over the last couple of weeks. Though this weekend is a huge day for me because it's basically I'm doing my play testing day. All of the prototypes I brought back from Essen, and all of the published games in Europe that are looking for a co-publisher for North America, we're going to be playing many of those. That's going to happen this Saturday, and then a week after that, there's a convention in New Jersey called Metatopia. It's a designer publisher convention where we're going to be playing these things again. So it's a very big time now where we decide what's going to happen, for 2015 publications.
Wow. Sounds like you don't slow down, Stephen. You're just constantly go, man.
Not part of my nature.
Yeah, right. Craig, what have you been playing?
Nothing.
No,
it has been a brutal fall. Yeah. I'm deep in alligators and swimming hard upstream. But I did. We got sent a game, Russ, and this one must have gone to the wrong address because it came to my house.
Oh, what'd you get?
It's called Blurble by Bernard Games, and it's just a very, very fast game. It says it's from 2 to 12 players, ages 6 and up, and it plays in about 30 minutes. Basically, all it is a couple of really big decks of cards with cartoon images on them, and you play through a certain number of cards, and even if you're playing with 12 people, it's always going to be 2 people head to head. And you basically just change how you tell who's going against whom.
Oh.
And all you're doing is you got to play it around a table because you have to put the cards down. And you put a card down, and let's say it's a picture of a lion. The first person who comes up with a word that starts with L gets the card and gets basically the point. So I played it with Karen 3 times in rapid succession, which was just enough to show that I was going to lose every time I ever played her.
Yeah.
And then we stopped playing. So it's not really a deep game. It's just kind of like a little filler game. I think it would be better with kids. But it was fun. I mean, Karen enjoyed kicking my butt. That's for sure.
Nice.
And sadly, that's all the gaming I've done. Russ, I see your gaming list actually is growing while I speak.
Yeah, well, so I do get, so the only reason I'm getting a lot of gaming because work actually has been very busy lately, and I have actually missed a couple of our weekly game nights. But fortunately, my kids are at an age now where I actually can game with them on the weekend, and I have my little lunch gaming crew that happens from time to time at work. So between those two things, I'm still able to get in a few games, even if I miss my normal Tuesday night, which I really do miss going to, of gamery gamers playing gamery things. I would say the most gamery game I've been playing a lot of lately is Arcadia Quest. So this is the new Cool Mini or Not game. It was the Kickstarter just started shipping. I got mine, I don't know, a few weeks ago, and as is the want of Cool Mini or Not, it is a box chock full of cool plastic sculpts. But what makes Arcadia Quest interesting, and if you see Arcadia Quest, you're going to immediately think Super Dungeon Explorer. It looks very similar. You got the little chibi guys, similar kinds of artwork and art style. And so everybody saw this when the Kickstarter came out and said, oh, it's just Super Dungeon Explorer, the next edition, kind of like the Zombicide editions where you get more Zombicide, just in different flavors. Zombicide at the mall, Zombicide at the prison, This is not that, though. Arcadia Quest, and the reason I backed it was I kind of read it very carefully, and what I noticed was this game reminded me of another game I really, really liked in the beginning, but then got a little disenchanted with, which was Tomb. Craig, do you remember the game Tomb?
I do.
So I like
not fondly.
So I like the idea of Tomb, which is each player controls a party of adventurers who go out into, in the case of Tomb, a dungeon and try to succeed. But you're competing against other players who are also running little parties of adventurers doing various things. Now, the concept of Tomb is a lot of fun, but it kind of outstays its welcome, and there's some nuances in there. I still have my copy, but when I started reading out Arcadia Quest the theme reminded me of Tomb. Unlike Super Dungeon Explorer and Descent, there's no overlord. Everybody's playing a guild, and each player's guild is made up of 3 heroes. And instead of being in a dungeon, you're actually traveling around a city, a medieval city. But the city is pre-populated with various book of scenarios, and these scenarios tell you where the tiles go and where the monsters are. But there's no monster phase in this game, which is really interesting. You're just going to run your guys around the table, and if you get too close to the monsters, they'll sort of do their thing. But you got a bunch of quests. There's some quests that are PvP, meaning that you're trying to kill other players. There's some quests that are PvE, players versus environment, where you're trying to actually go ahead and do environmental quests, like save some eagles, recover the tombs, or whatever. And if you do these things, you get money, and then between rounds you're going to be able to level up your heroes. So each game though plays really quickly in about an hour, and then there's like a campaign book in the game, and you can have 6 different campaign games you play, and then after 6 sessions you're pretty much done with the campaign. And there's all kinds of rules for how you can store your stuff between games and everything. Great game, plays super fast, really like the rules, but it's very Cutthroat Cavern. It kind of feels like Tomb meets Cutthroat Caverns. You're very much incented to get in fact, so I've been playing with my daughters. So it's been myself and my 2 daughters, who are, again, ages 12 and 10. And my youngest daughter, Kit, my oldest daughter was winning the last game we played. Kit and I were making a comeback, and there was a 3-way tie for who's going to finish the final quest and win the game. My quest was to kill one other player, and so I had Kit in my sights, and I went to kill her. Now, she made her rolls and saved against my attack. if she lived, she knew that her sister would kill her next because she went next, and that she would lose the game, I would lose the game, and Rose would win. But in the campaign, if Rose would win, that'd be bad for her. So instead, she used her rerolls to reroll her successful saves in order to die from my attack so that I would win. But in an overall campaign, that would not be as bad of a change for her. So really got to sort of cutthroat cavalry really do some nasty stuff to your opponents. Really enjoy that game a lot, and looking forward to playing it some more, and looking forward to getting to the table with some gamers to see what they think of it. A lot of fun. Also been playing, are you guys familiar with Coup, the card game?
I've seen the box.
No, very much so. Yeah, I love it.
So Coup's a great game. Have you played Reformation, Stephen, the new expansion?
I have not played the new
I
one.
just got the expansion. So this is a favorite game at my office. Everybody loves Coup. It's fast, and it's one of those games you try to do things and you lie about it. So basically, you have these two character cards that are like your roles, and you can say, I'm going to tax the people and get $3 extra, whatever it is. And now, there's only one role that allows you to tax, but you can just claim you have that role, and other players have to either call BS on you or not. The problem is if they call BS and you're not lying, one of their roles gets exposed, and they go down a roll. And once you lose 2 rolls, you're out of the game. Reformation is really, really cool because it adds a faction to each player. So you can't call out somebody, or you can't play against somebody or block them or anything unless they are not in your faction. So at the beginning of the game, every other player is a given faction. So it's only 2 factions. So it's like, I can't remember what they're called, like Rebels and Loyalists. I can't remember what they're called. But so it goes Rebel, Loyal, all around the table. But then during the game, there's new roles now that allow you to flip other people's factions. So you can change so if you're about to be the last guy killed, you can flip the faction of the guy's about to kill somebody. Now he can't kill you, and kill somebody else. So really neat wrinkle on the game. Really enjoyed it. I think it kicks the game up just a little bit of a notch to make it even more fun. So I really like that one. Tiny Epic Kingdoms. So this finally shipped. This was a Kickstarter, and get this, it's a 4X, so expand, exterminate, exploit, and explore game, right? Fantasy style one. Plays in 30 minutes, and it fits inside of a very tiny box. Stephen, in a box even smaller than your little metal tins you guys sell, it's even smaller than that. So it's a little tiny box. What's cool about it is because of all the stretch goals it hits, there's 15 different factions you can play. Really, really clean rules, very easy to play. Now, I will say not everybody in our gaming group seems to like it. I really enjoy it a lot because it's a fast, fun 4X experience, but I guess your mileage may vary on that one. But I'm looking forward to playing it some more. I really enjoyed it. Then played several games of Among the Stars. Stephen, I have to tell you that. So one of the Tuesdays I finally did make it to our game night. I had a bunch of these filler games. So I had Tiny Epic Kingdoms. I had Among the Stars. We played, one of my friends brought another Euro that was really, really fast. Played Tiny Epic Kingdoms, played this other Euro, brought out Among the Stars, played that. I fully expected to move on, and everybody said, wait, we got to play that again. That's awesome. So we played Among the Stars again. It's like, we got to play that again. Oh, we got to go to dinner. It was like, they wanted to play it more. It plays so fast. I love the idea of how the table grows. It's just a lot of fun. Among the Stars, you guys did a nice job. Nice job.
Thank you. Yeah, once you get into the flow of the game, it's very fast. You know, I mean, and when you know a few of the, know the cards and what you're looking for. I mean, the first time you play it, obviously you're going to be like, oh, what do these cards do? How do you do it? But after a couple of plays, you really get into the flow, and it is just that. Now, some people have called it filler, and some people have called it, wow, there's a lot of stuff going on here. So you can play that game, and really, really try to optimize it. But a good player in that game is going to crush some newbie players. So,
for sure. And it's not a filler in the complexity. It's a filler. It usually takes about an hour. That's the nice thing. It plays
45 hour and you're done. Absolutely.
But you're right. There's depth there that I like, and I love how your station builds out. And I think we talk about it later in the show too. So I won't belabor the point, but it's a great, great game. Also playing plenty more 5e. As I mentioned, 5th edition from Dungeons and Dragons with my family, my niece and nephew and my daughters, and we are now through we're in the 4th chapter of the Tyranny of Dragons campaign. Having a great time with it still. My niece now has chosen for her birthday party, she wants me to come to her house and run the Dungeons and Dragons campaign more. So it's just awesome. I think we're having a great time with it. It's just wonderful. I'm really enjoying the 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. We got to review that game, Craig. As soon as you get out of play purgatory there, we got to get you to the table of that game so we can review it.
I have to. I'm a big D&D player from way back. I've been playing now in a couple of years just due to time, but I'm really looking forward to seeing what version 5 is going to do.
Oh, it's definitely worth a look, Steven. It does harken back to the olden days, but also it feels very modern at the same time. They did a really good job with this one.
Yeah. I mean, everything I've heard, everything I've heard is really, really high, so it's good.
So one other thing I want to mention real quick is my daughter's birthday party. So this is sort of strange, but my daughter's birthday is actually back in August, okay? But what happens with my kids is they want to have a party, but they always want to wait several months after their birthday for the party because, I don't know, they want to have it during school so they got their friends back or a certain time of year, whatever. So anyway, turns out this was the month to have her birthday party. So she wanted to have a game day again. And this is now come to define as Dad runs an entire day of games for her and all her friends. So what I've done with these started to do with these things, and because they choose a party at home instead of going to some place. Well, they wouldn't go to Chuck E. Cheese anymore. But one of those places like a bowling alley, we're going to spend $200 on a birthday party. I'm like, okay, if you pick this, I'll get some cool prizes for you and your friends, and then I'll run all these little games. And what I do is each game I award these little plastic gold coins you can get at the dollar store for like $1, and you get like a bag of 400 of these gold coins. So I give them out as prizes for each game. At the end of the day, who's ever got the most coins gets to line up in most coin order to least coins, and I have a bag of prizes you can pick from. This time I went with like those blind purchase of collectible, like Tokidoki type stuff, a bunch of those things. Anyway, so played a bunch of physical games like Limbo and some outdoor games just to get them all riled up. Then, though, we played Game of Werewolf, which my daughter loves. We always play Werewolf, and the other must-play game at these events is Telestrations. And Telestrations is fantastic, but what I do is I basically don't use anything in the box except for the little book and the erasable dry erase thing. And I just pass those out, and I ask everybody who's got the book to write down their first sentence, and then just go from there. And it works great. You don't have to worry about passing out the cards or any of the complicated rules for kids. And if you have a big group, get a second set of Telestrations, because then you can have 16 books or whatever it is, and just go around. And it still works great. A lot of fun, always good for a laugh, great game as well. Another thing I picked up, I didn't get a chance to play this one because we ended up with more kids, but have you guys seen Werewolf One Night?
No. But I've heard about it.
Yeah, One Night Werewolf.
One Night Werewolf. Sorry, I got it backwards.
It's like Werewolf in 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's really fast, and I hadn't played it before. But the thing about it that's cool is it's basically Werewolf, like you said, Steve, but it's one night, so it's really quick. There's even an app for your phone that runs you through everything to say, so it basically plays the announcer, so you don't have to have one. And what's cool about it, though, is it can handle lower player counts. So it's Werewolf really for 3 to 10. As opposed to regular Werewolf, which really doesn't shine until you're over 10, right? So if you got a lot of people, which ended up having at the party, I went with regular Werewolf, but I had bought this in case the party ended up being a little smaller. Read through the rules, haven't played it yet, but I think it looks pretty cool, so I'm looking forward to trying that one. Have you played it before, Steven?
Yeah, I have. I'm a very big fan of Werewolf and, that whole genre of gaming. So this one is good. I do prefer the bigger games in general of Werewolf and the format of Werewolf. But this is a 10-minute game, so you get that quick jolt of who's on my side, who's not on my side at the same all that one quick 10-15 minute experience. So yeah, it is quite good.
Nice. So I can't wait to try that one out. And phew, that's all my board games.
Wow.
That's a lot, man.
That's a busy man.
Well, that's a gaming. But unfortunately, let's go to modeling now. And so, Steven, you don't really model much, do you?
I'm not a modeler.
No.
I got old eyes and I don't have the time to do it. Though, I'm not sure we mentioned it in future Steven tense, but Magic the Gathering, the board game.
Yeah, you talked about that.
Did we talk about that? All right,
yeah.
So you guys are gonna have more models to paint when that comes out.
That looks interesting. I'm gonna keep an eye on that. I'm not a big Magic fan, but I know my friends are gonna be into it, so I'm trying to decide what to try.
If the game's good, who cares that it's based on?
Right. Well, no, I
love
love the art in Magic. Don't get me wrong, the art's phenomenal.
I'm actually always upset how good the art is.
Yes, because I feel
like it's wasted.
Yeah,
let's not go there.
It looks like it's going to be a great game, and there'll be some models to paint in that because it's based on the HeroScape system, but it's not going to have all painted models. Anyway, I digress. Talk about your painting.
Yeah, so this is where the roles reverse now, and I have very little to talk about modeling, and Craig, being stuck at home with the play and stuff, is painting like a fiend.
Yes, well,
what have you been doing, Craig?
Well, I finished putting together my pre-heresy 40K army. So it now consists of 4 different HQ choices, including all of the major characters from the first 3 Horus Heresy novels, 10 Terminators, a Dreadnought that's all pre-heresy, the 3 pre-heresy bikes I've spoken about, 10 pre-heresy jump troops that I think I already spoke about, and 30 tactical marines that I already spoke about. All of them have had all their iconography shaved away, so there's no skulls anywhere. Well, there's one. I missed one in the entire army, and I was pretty bent about that one. So it all looks very much like the artwork for the pre-heresy stuff. 2 repurposed Space Wolf drop pods that are now Sons of Horus drop pods. And way back in the day, way before they redid the Rhino kit, there was the old Rhino kit, but everybody knew that there's no way the 10 Marines would fit in the old Rhino kit. And I got fed up, and so back before you could buy bits individually and blah, 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 I blew out 2 rhinos using Plasticard into... Actually, they're pretty much exactly the same size as the new rhinos that have been around for like 15 years now. And so I built those and put bits all over them. And actually, they were Razorbacks. They weren't rhinos. So I repurposed those. I got rid of the iconography. They were half painted and then they got put away and never used. So I got rid of the iconography. I changed them from Razorbacks into rhinos and built those. So that's all done. So that's the army that now exists, all the pieces, and I have started painting. I am almost done. I'm painting all of the 30 tactical marines at a time. So I have little black detailing and then unit markings, and that whole unit is done. And then I'm going to do the HQs, the dreadnought, and the vehicles and the bikes next. So I go from 30 to 10, but there's all kinds of cool vehicles. And then because of the way the Sons of Horus were painted, all of those guys are kind of like a verdigris, I think, color. And then the really elite units are generally gold and black. And so the jump troops will be the Catalan Reavers which are black. And the Terminators will be the Justarians or I don't know. But they were all black too, so that'll go even faster. So that's where I'm heading, and that's where I am. And yeah, because I can do that at like 10 o'clock at night when I come home, and I should go to sleep, but instead I want to do something game-oriented, so I've been doing that. So that's my modeling.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah.
That's pretty
huge.
impressive. Yeah, Craig, that's
fun. They're looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy with the way they're coming out.
So what about other stuff? This is our random geeky stuff here. Like
now,
TV,
we should
books.
Also mention that because there's an entire segment
Yes.
of random geekiness,
Yes.
this is probably going to be pretty short.
Yeah, we'll keep this short.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Steven, what's your short, abbreviated version of random geeky stuff?
Yeah, this will be stuff that's outside of, like, I don't know, geek culture, though I guess this is somewhat geek culture, too. Been playing a little Hearthstone.
Yeah, you liking Hearthstone? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm really liking it. I don't have the time to play it a lot, and I'm not trying to, like... I've spent 0 on the game. 0. And I know people who spent $100 or more on the game.
So folks who don't know, this is the virtual collectible card game from Blizzard, right?
Yes, and it is an absolutely gorgeous, brilliant implementation of a collectible card game online. I mean, it's an absolutely amazing, the animations and everything. Mm-hmm. It can't be nicer looking. And I call it Magic the Gathering for dummies. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean they've streamlined everything. So you don't have 5 colors of mana. You've got 1 type of mana. You play a class of character. There's like 8 of them. And you just put cards in your deck based on class and then the all class cards. Really, really well done. You can play it for $0 and be completely not competitive at it, or you can spend some money and really try to be competitive. But you can really have a lot of good times just playing with the basic cards and stuff like that. So enjoying it very much. You guys played it all?
I have not, although I've heard good things about it, and I keep wanting to try it, but I'm afraid I'll get addicted, so I don't.
And I'd probably stay away because it's very addictive.
Yeah.
Another really weird thing I've been playing. Playing is a weird word for this. Something called Ingress.
What's that?
Have you heard of Ingress?
I have not.
Thank you for the achievement. Ingress is as much a game as it is a physical exercise, as it is Google keeping their mapping software up to date. Now think about that combination of things I just said. Ingress is basically you download an app for your smartphone, and you are a secret. You're an agent, a special agent, and you're either part of the Enlightened or the Resistance.
Ooh.
And what you're doing is there's it's called exotic matter, XM, and it's seeping into our dimension. And it's coming from an alien source, and it's affecting your mind. The Enlightened want to utilize this, for mankind's benefit, and the Resistance believes this stuff is bad and wants to put it down. So you basically walk around your neighborhood, New York City, whatever the case may be, and you visit portals, and you hack them to get more things, and you try to take them over. It's silly. It's not so much of a game as a collective amount of people trying to be, to get people on their side and show that they've got more stuff than other people. It's really weird.
So is this one of those augmented reality games? Are you walking around in the physical world and looking through your phone's camera, and it's showing you stuff on your screen as if it was there or something?
No, you don't look through the phone's camera. You're looking at a sort of a topographical map of the neighborhood you're in, and certain places will have a portal, and they're usually at like parks or important buildings and things like that, and you can basically hack the portal to get things, take it over by pulsing it. I can't. It's hard to describe what this game is about, but it is silly, addictive, and it gives you a lot of exercise because you walk around a lot. And in New York City, where I'm there almost every day, there's a lot of portals. So you just walk around and you're hacking portals and you're gaining.
Well, I got to say, the
stuff.
website looks cool.
This is Google who put this thing out, and they really are doing this essentially to keep their maps up to date and locations up to date, because you can tell, like you can say like this is a place that should be part of the game, and you take a picture of it and you tell what it is, and they may or may not add it to the game. And of course they put it on their mapping service and stuff like that. So it's really weird. It's spelled Ingress, the opposite of ingress, because this stuff is seeping into the universe. If you wanna go on a diet, this is good. You walk around a lot, and it's good. It's good for you.
All right, check it out. I see it's on iOS.
I want to read the description. Ingress. Oh wait, we'll do this. Stephen will get really jealous. Ingress is an augmented reality, massively multiplayer, online role-playing, GPS-dependent game created by Niantic Labs, a startup within Google, originally for Android devices and since July 14th, 2014, for Apple's iOS. That's augmented reality, massively multiplayer, online role-playing game, GPS-dependent game.
Now you know why I couldn't explain it.
Wow, that's a lot.
It does say it all, though.
It's kind of cool. You basically walk around and you try to be a cool agent. I'm like a level 6 agent now, and I won't say what side I'm on because I don't want anybody to start going against me. So I could be Resistance or I could be Enlightened. Okay, I'm Resistance.
Good to know. So, Craig, how about yourself? Oh, what else we got, Steve? Anything else?
Yeah, the only other thing that I wanted to mention, kind of a geeky thing. Have you guys heard of Mars One?
No.
It's an actual project that's going on right now to put a permanent man settlement on Mars.
Oh, I think I have heard about this.
Yeah, and this is not governmental. It's privately done, and they're accepting applications to be on the missions to Mars, and people are going there in droves. And the most important thing to mention is there is no guarantee of a return ticket. So you are a true pioneer. A true geeky pioneer to go out there onto Mars. I think that's just an amazing concept, and I have not put my application in because I'd like to.
Because you can't come back?
Because I cannot come back. But, no,
can you ship games to us from Mars? That's what I want to know.
What's that?
Can you ship games to us from Mars? Because if you can do that, you can go.
Maybe. But no, I just wanted to bring that up. That's something that really, really interesting. It has to do with the Mars societies involved and things. So
cool.
It's a really, really interesting thing that that I was talking to somebody in Essen about, and I want to give them a shout out for tremendous future forward thinking on something. I mean, I don't know that it'll ever come to fruition, and if it does, it's fraught with peril, of course, and God knows how many people.
It feels like something you could kickstart, though. You know, I think we need a Mars Kickstarter. Get to Mars.
Imagine Mars one Kickstarter.
Why not? They kickstarted the Death Star. We could do this. We can build the Death Star.
And an
with
X-wing
Kickstarter.
squadron.
Right. We can do
Maybe
that.
we
can
can,
get to
but-
Mars.
I just wanted to bring that up. It's a pretty amazing geeky thing to go look into. Mars One.
Nice.
Cool.
All right, so Craig, what have you been doing?
Well, Russ, we, well, not so much I as the actual day, but we did just have Extra Life. And
Yes.
Extra Life was awesome. Extra Life Worldwide did raise $5.5 million for children's hospitals around the world. And I wanted to give a special shout out to Steven, who was and always is my first pledge of Extra Life, and kept that up this year. And listener Pete Miller, who actually put in $105 to put me up to my goal. And then a couple other people, and I'm sorry that I'm not prepared. I don't have any of the other names, but you guys were awesome too. There's a couple other people came in after the fact, so I ended a slight little smidgen above what is sadly was a very, as of 2 years ago, a very low goal for me, but I made it. So yay!
That's right. Yay! There's
And
no
that's
such
the
thing as a
important
low.
part. That's
No
the
such thing as a
important
low
part.
amount of money when it
Yeah,
comes
it was
to
hard. It's
children's
hard
charities.
this year. Exactly. It was hard this year, and we did. 5.5 million is awesome. So
Well,
that
it's
was
actually- it's
fantastic.
actually
I hope
great,
to get
Craig.
24 hours of games in the next 12 months.
Yeah, I meant to say that too, Craig, because I think it's cool to see that the goals we personally set have become lower because so many gamers are actually doing it themselves.
That's the thing. Exactly.
So-
Locally, a whole bunch of people who used to pledge are now doing it themselves,
which is awesome. And so the net is more money being raised for hospitals,
kids, which is all that really
fantastic.
matters.
So it's so awesome. The word's out there and everybody's doing it. That's just fantastic.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
this is something that I Stronghold Games and myself personally I strongly support. I mean, it's a wonderful cause, giving money to children, and I think that thank you, Craig and Russ, for doing this year after year, and I will continue to support it ongoing because it is really fantastic. It chokes me up because everybody puts in so much time to get this done, and they go through all kinds of ways of doing it too. Like I had some people across the country that were they did it and they videotaped the entire 25 hours of the whole thing,
Right.
and like people could check in. Like I checked in a couple of times, and then and they had it on Twitch. The video feed, and I would say like, "Hey, Steven's here from Stronghold," and "Hey, you guys look great," and something. And they would reply back like, "Oh, Steven's here, look at that." So it was a lot of fun, and I put them over their goal and stuff. So it's a great thing that all of you guys are doing for children. So thank you very much.
No, it's awesome. And thank you for contributing, Steven. It's awesome.
So that was awesome. And so we're going to talk about a lot of geekly stuff, like we said in this segment. So I'm not going to talk about all that TV viewing and all those movies. Except I will mention that I just went and saw Guardians of the Galaxy for the fifth time.
Fifth
time.
Don't tell my wife.
Wow.
I keep going when I'm supposed to be doing other things. TV wise though, like I said, I'm here late at night. Karen's been working a lot. So I get home late. My mother-in-law is watching my son and puts him to bed. So there's nothing going on when I get home, and I caught up on all my summer shows. So before the fall shows started, I was puttering around. I found Ricky Gervais's series Extras from HBO. I think it was HBO, which was hilarious. If you like Ricky Gervais, you need to check that out. Like much of British series, there's not a lot of episodes. I think it's 2 6-episode seasons is all there is, and it's really, really funny. The whole concept is that their characters are extras in movies, so every episode is a different movie where they're the extras, and features a big movie star. So like a real life movie star. So there's an episode with Ben Stiller in it, and they're really, really funny, really, really awesome. Really enjoyed that. And
absolutely, that's absolutely brilliant series. I mean, and the fact that he brings in a major star into every show, and who are parodying themselves.
Yes, exactly.
Patrick
and
Stewart.
Yeah.
What's his name? Sir Ian McKellen. The
Ian
episode,
McKellen.
Ian
He's
McKellen
doing his play.
is so ridiculous.
It's awesome.
It's been out. Yeah, great show.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all. I mean, half of them are British, and half the big stars are British, but half of them are American. It's really, really funny. And then I think slightly less funny, but on the same theme, is the Showtime show episodes with Joey. Not really. What's his? No. LeBlanc, Matt LeBlanc. Yep. Is it Matt LeBlanc?
Yes,
from
Matt
Friends.
LeBlanc.
Yeah, that's another show that's really, really funny. I'm an Anglophile, and you can tell both of those shows have very British ties to them. So that's those. I watched those shows. Actually, just finished episodes, the third season of episodes tonight. So because I've got to gear myself up for all the shows that we're going to talk about when we talk about geek culture. And I finally finished my second short story, not least because I've been seeing a movie every other afternoon when I'm supposed to be, writing. But it was a 12,000 word count for a short story. This ended at 18,000 words. So for the last week, I've been trying desperately to cut 6,000 words. So 1/3 of this whole story, which is a whole new challenge for me, and I think I've cut the right stuff out. I hope so. Anyway, but so that's what I've been doing. Russ, what have you been doing?
Nice. Well, my list is short because also I'm saving most for the geek culture segment here, but am listening on Audible to Monster Hunters International.
Yes, Audible. Now, Russ.
Yeah.
What's the deal with Audible?
Well, Audible is a fantastic service that lets you listen to your books via audio means, something like that. You like my iPod, there's apps available for your iPhone, your Android phone, or whatever. Audible's a great service. I've been a member since 2000, and I have gajillions of books on there now. Great thing. If you want to get involved with Audible, just go to our website, click the Audible link there. You'll get 30 days free and a free credit for a free audiobook of your choice. And even if you decide to leave the service after 30 days, you keep that book. And during your time there, while you're a member, you're going to get access to great member deals for a lot of audiobooks for very, very cheap. $5 for like normally $30 audiobooks. It's crazy good.
It is unbelievable.
I'm really enjoying Monster Hunters by Larry Correia.
Very good stuff.
It is good. I like Grim Noir better, but I'm enjoying Monster Hunters.
Yeah.
A lot. Really a lot. I'm in the first book, and I'm actually really enjoying it. Also, should mention as well, Craig, that I had a great time with Extra Life also. I couldn't get out of the house that weekend because Nicole was traveling, but I ended up doing it the old-fashioned way, which is playing video games, which is how Extra Life started.
Right, which is how Extra Life started. Exactly.
I played Civ Beyond Earth, came out actually the day of Extra Life, the Friday before it. So I basically, and anybody who's played a Civilization game before knows that you can easily eat up 24 hours with a Civ game. No, just one more turn. Just one more turn. And so Civ Beyond Earth, those who remember Civilization, one of the victories you could get was to launch a mission to Alpha Centauri, right? You go from the Stone Age all the way up to launching an exploration mission. Well, Civ Beyond Earth, now you're playing Civilization again, but now you're colonizing another planet. And while you're playing, other human settlers are landing on the same planet and becoming competitive civilizations for you. And you're dealing with alien life forms that live there. Native life is kind of not so friendly, and you're dealing with native plants and gases, and you got to terraform, and it's really, really cool. I'm enjoying it immensely, so it's a great game. And then also, Fantasia, the game. So, this game, so I've always been a fan of the music games with the Kinect. Love Dance Central, love Rock Band. So Fantasia came out by Harmonix, who's the company, the guys who made both Rock Band and Dance Central. So I couldn't say no to a Harmonix game. And Fantasia is based on the movies by Disney of the same name. So this is really a partnership between Harmonix and Disney, which already has got me really intrigued. And I would say this is really the first Xbox One must-own Kinect game, if you like the whole jumping up and down in front of your television idea. What's interesting about this is instead of dancing, so in the dancing games, you're really moving exactly to how the characters on the screen are dancing. So you're trying to learn actual dance moves and keep in touch with them, and you're getting scores based on that. In Fantasia, there's just these visual cues, and you're trying to do certain kinds of gestures to match. And what you find out very quickly is you feel like you're conducting an orchestra. And if you remember the movie Fantasia, it's kind of one of the premises. But like during crescendos, you have to lift both your hands in the air and hold it. And then as the music dives down, you swoop down low with your hands. The rest of your body doesn't matter what you do with it. You can kind of dance along and try to stand very still. It's very engaging. And at some point, and there's a free demo. You can download and check this out. At some point, you just are totally immersed and you're really amazed with how you just feel like you're one with the music. It's really interesting. And it's not just classical music. They've partnered with many of the bands and songs you'll recognize from Rock Band and Dance Central, which is pretty much every song ever made, like ranging from stuff like Elton John's Rocket Man all the way through, Royals, right? So all kinds of songs from all genres and as well as classics as well. Really interesting game. If you like music rhythm games, definitely check this out. And again, there's a free demo, so you don't have to pay anything for it if you want to try it. It is exclusively to Xbox One, though.
Wow. You had me at Elton John.
See? There you go.
I can't believe that. That's really sounds cool.
It's really neat, Steven. If you like that kind of thing, you're definitely worth checking out.
Yeah.
So, I think that is all of our achievements. Is that our achievements?
That is
achievements.
The D6 generation. Not as good as Lord of the Rings, but better than The Hobbit.
But The Hobbits has the lovely hobbitses. There is only one hobbits in the hobbits. There are 1, 2, many hobbits in the Lord of the Rings.
Yeehaw, Craig.
That was lasers.
Those sound effects mean it's time to talk about our favorite cowboy game with lasers, Wild West Exodus. That's right. This is the game, of course. Craig writes all the fluff for it, but that's not the reason we love it. We love
Not all the fluff. There's all kinds of people involved.
Well, lots of the fluff. But here's the thing.
Lots of the basic
fantastic universe. Fantastic
cool.
models. Really fun, fast, brutally awesome rule set. There's a lot to love about this game. What is the new hotness right now on their website? What is the next model I need to be ordering but shouldn't because it's getting near Christmas time?
Right. Well, now you're looking at all the models for the Holy Order are coming out, and all of the new models for and of course what they're doing constantly is they're setting out models for every faction gets flooded. The new CCLE Canine, which is a giant robot dog, which is awesome.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nope. And the Capelli sisters. Looks like one of these chicks is toting a bazooka, Russ.
Yeah, that looks kind of awesome.
Can't go wrong with a big laser bazooka powered by evil.
I like Ironhawk from the Warrior Nation. Are those flaming fists you got there, Craig?
Yes. I do believe so.
That is awesome.
There is a new breed of Warrior Nation dude introduced in the novel Abundant Riches that don't change their form when they fight. They actually use the power of the Great Spirit in more like sort of traditional fantasy magic forms, like giant fists of fire.
I love Legendary Edition of Abraham Lincoln. He's there with his axe. He's got this awesome long, the traditional Abe Lincoln long coat, but it's all like armored and got metal all over it. And then he's got his cool, of course, this stovepipe hat, but again, all sort of armored up and looks awesome. Abe Lincoln looks fantastic. I love how Wild West Exodus brings those historical figures in, tweaks them a little bit, and makes it crazy cool.
Well, how about the boxer in a standard pugilist's pose with the hairdo and the mustache and everything, but he's got giant metal fists.
Yeah, it brings a whole new meaning to brass knuckles.
Yes, he does indeed.
So check it out. Head on over to wildwestexodus.com for all the hotness and use the code D6G 2014. Each customer gets to use that once, but when you do, you get 10% off your entire order. So order big.
Right. So save it up and then get a whole army.
Christmas is coming. Save big over at Wild West Exodus.
This is getting fat.com.
Yeehaw! And now, what's in the news? With a shout out, special thanks to all our patrons over at Patreon. You guys are amazing. We're at 450 and still climbing. Can we hit 500 by the end of the year? Only you can make that happen. Thanks so much, guys. You are fantastic. And now, what's in the news? Of course, the big news this past week has to be the thing everyone is talking about is the giant merger between Fantasy Flight Games and Asmodee Game Group. This is, of course, a huge merger. Fantasy Flight Games here, huge in the United States. Asmodee, also huge here, as even huger. That's a word. Look it up. Huger in Europe. Let's see. Now, according to this, it's a merger. And to quote the press release over here at Fantasy Flight Games, head over to fantasyflightgames.com and check their news feed for all the details if you're wondering how this is going to impact both lines. According to the press release here, FFG's new and existing product lines will continue to be developed by FFG and sold under the FFG logo. They will stay full independent publisher in the Asmodee group and intend to keep creating the best games possible. But a few of the FFG products whose identity may be deemed to better fit under different Asmodee group or brand may transition to within that group. And vice versa for Asmodee as well. So that's the official line. Remains to be seen how things will change. Of course, Asmodee just bought Days of Wonder not too long ago. So a lot of consolidation happening here in our little gaming industry. We'll see what happens. There's probably other news, but I think Wakeland... Yeah, it's my turn. Wakeland wants to do an app of the ep. So here we go. Wakeland, what is your app of the ep this time? Come on over, here I come. Okay, well, I've been playing a lot of this little game for iOS. I'm really impressed by it. It is called Space Wolf, and this is based on the Space Marine chapter of the same name in the Warhammer 40,000 universe from Games Workshop. So it's an official Games Workshop iOS game, and basically this is a tactical, sort of turn-based tactical squad combat game, sort of in the XCOM vein. Now, what makes it interesting is you play a squad of Space Wolves, and you fight the various forces of the Chaos Space Marines and their ilk. Pretty solid game. The graphics are great. It looks really, really good for an iOS title. Now, it is a free-to-play game with in-app purchases. And the mechanic of this game that makes it sort of interesting is, and I've seen this in a couple other games now, so there's a deck of cards mechanic. And basically, during each of your turn, each of your characters that are represented on the table with a cool little miniature, and it's fully animated, and they fire their guns and pull up things, but you have a little hand of cards for each miniature, and these hands of cards will be different weapons and things they can use. So your Space Marine might have a bolter in his hand, and you might have a hand flamer in his hand, and you might have a bolt pistol, but he has a las cannon in his hand too, and you can play which card you're going to play. When you play this card, then your Marine will attack with that weapon. Now, what makes it really interesting is between battles, you can then merge these cards to form higher versions, and when you play battles, you'll unlock more cards, and there's deck management, so you actually build your deck of cards for each of your Space Marine armor types. You got the 3 armor types, you got your basic tactical Marine armor, you got your Scout armor, and of course you got Terminator armor you can cycle through. I just got the Cyclone Missile Launcher card, so I'm very excited to see when that comes in my hand, because then I can fire my Cyclone Missile Launcher. Some of the cards you can equip, use them more than once. Some of the cards are kind of one use, and then you kind of go through. So so the card mechanic's a little bit abstracted, and it's kind of weird that one minute your guy's attacking with lightning claws, and the next minute he's got a thunder hammer. So that's a little bit different for the miniature gamer. Looks great though. Now the downside is it is in-app purchases, and what that basically means is that you're going to spend your money to unlock more cards if you want to go faster. Now I've been playing, I'm like 7 missions in, and without spending a dime, I've already unlocked the Terminators, and I have enough cards to still make it interesting. It is a little challenging, but you got to remember, I come from a generation where we used to pay, $60 or more for video games on both PC and in the early console days. So the fact that there's now mobile games that are like $5, $2, $10 seems very cheap to me. And even games with in-app purchases, if I pay for, if I find a game I really, really like and start paying some in-app purchases and pay less than $15 or so, I think I got a really good deal if I got a few hours of entertainment out of it. So that doesn't bother me too much. And to be honest, I haven't felt like I've had to do that yet with this game. Now, I don't know, I might get farther along and think that, but right now, this is a great, great looking game in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. Lord knows there's not enough of those, or haven't really been, short of Dawn of War and a couple other exceptions that prove the rule. Most Games Workshop-based games are not that great. I'm really enjoying this little one. Looks great. It's a lot of fun, tactically challenging, cool missions. There is no voice acting, but the writing seems reasonably good. The characters sound like they're Space Wolves talking to each other when you read the text. So I'm going to say this is worth a try, and you can't beat the price right now. It's free. So you download it, you try it out. If it gets annoying with the in-app purchases, bail. But I think you're going to find you get at least a few hours of fun out of Space Wolf. Is that it, Wakeland? That's it. Oh, one more thing. Yes, Wakeland, what is it? Well, I'm getting good feedback on this whole app of the ep thing, and if you'd like to hear more computer game commentary in the What's in the News segment and less news, let me know. It's my segment. We can get out of here. I'm always going to be news all the time. Unless, of course, a lot of you write in which case we'll do more video game stuff for Wakeland. Can I still at least do the voice announcement? Oh, yeah, that's fine. All right. Thanks, Wakeland. And that's What's in the News.
Hey, Russ. Guess what time it is now?
It's Conquistador time.
It's time to talk about Conquistador Games.
Yeah.
Wow, that was loud.
That is a very bold announcement. Again, my favorite CQ game and this is the thing. The thing to remember about trying to find their website is I can't spell Conquistador. There's too many N's, not enough Q's.
So how do you get there if you can't spell Conquistador?
CQgames.com takes you right there.
Couldn't be easier.
Really couldn't. And
Piece
look
of
for
cake.
my personal favorite from the CQ Games library, of course, and that is The New Science, in which,
Science.
Age of Enlightenment, you are a famous scientist working on
New
those
science.
prestige points. And, living large, do you publish? Do you not publish? Do you wait till later? Because if you publish, you immediately get victory points, but then people can build on your work and maybe score more victory points later.
Maybe they're just sitting on nuclear physics, waiting for you to do, a particle accelerator. I just made all that up.
Yeah, it's a little more Age of Enlightenment, but you get the idea.
Science, not my thing.
Right.
Not as far as interest goes. I'm interested. I just don't know anything.
And they also have great games that are also historically based, like Road to Enlightenment, another fantastic games to our friends at CQ Games. And, of course, Tomorrow, which is the game that keeps coming but never gets here.
Right.
Little Orphan Annie joke for you.
I get it.
Little orphan.
See what you did there.
No, it's actually out. It's easy to find at your local gaming store, and it is chock full of evil. Because this is the game where, you're a major world leader in the far future. You got an overpopulation problem. What are you going to do? Have a little unplanned accident there, maybe a little accidental nuclear explosion to wipe the population out by half. Now you're in good shape. Much better. So
Absolutely.
All this great stuff, Craig, is available where?
At conquistadorgames.com.
So here's the final score. Ripley has 147 victory points. Hicks has 132. I have 117. And Hudson has 87. That's it, man. Game over, man. Game over. What the frick are we going to do now? Put the game away.
And now I think it's time for we're starting an annual tradition here, Craig.
Yes, I like it. I like annual traditions, Russ.
Stephen, thanks so much for joining us again on the episode. It's great to have you back in the USA. Really appreciate it.
Back in the USA.
And since it just seems to sync up with you being in the third chair right around Essen time, I think it makes a lot of sense to have sort of the annual Essen Buonocore report here on the D6 Generation.
Well, yes. I mean, this is always a great thing to do. It's a big time of the year for everybody in gaming.
Right.
It's a big time of the year for Stronghold.
Right.
And booking a slot on the show takes like 9 months. So.
Right. The prep time is incredible.
The line is long. And
the longest part, Stephen, is picking out all the blue M&Ms for you. That takes like 6 months to get that stuff ready in the green room for you. I mean, it's a real pain.
We have to have those.
But let me ask you this. So, you're in Essen, and this is the thing about Essen that I think is so cool that we know people that go there because, of course, it's a long way from home here, right? And we get to go to Gen Con and stuff and see a lot of hotness there, but Essen is so much more epic, as we've talked about in the past, and so many more releases happen there, especially on the Euro side of things. And then, of course, I know you guys really use it as a big launching vehicle for a lot of your big products as well, especially anything that just barely misses the Gen Con window. Now you got the Essen window to back it up with, right?
Right, sure.
So let me ask you, so what were you guys like, what were the big crates of hotness that Stronghold was loading up on the container ships and bringing over to Essen?
Well, the list is very long. We had a lot of stuff going on. In fact, on the board game Geek TV, BGG TV that they do every year, right. they have all the publishers on, for anywhere from sometimes 15 minutes, I guess, if they have one small game they give me an hour to to go crazy on that thing. I had so many things I couldn't go through it all. So what I did was I built a wall at one point. I built a wall of all of the games, basically 10 new releases.
Wow.
All of the fall releases, end of summer fall releases. And we basically, Beth Hiley and I, she interviews me every year and interviews the designers with me and stuff like that. But we kind of hid below all of the games, and we kind of just stood up, added the whole thing and said, "Hello, here we are." It was a cute little moment that we did. Stronghold, essentially between the very, very, very last couple of days of August, so it was right after Gen Con, and the middle of November, released 10 new titles, which is pretty insane.
Now, what is your normal number of title releases in a given year?
There's no scientific number or art number that I can come up with.
Do you have an average since you guys have been around? I mean, do you normally release 5, 20, 3?
Well, obviously, there's obviously been a very quick and very quick scale going up and up and up each year.
Right.
This year it was sort of the perfect storm of releases And I think you can see by when I talked to you, we had essentially 5 base games that came out at this time and 5 expansions to games. Some of those, including the ones that are just coming out. Right. So there was this perfect storm that happened, and I think as we go through the releases, I'll be able to explain kind of what happened. Maybe the first one I'll even mention is Among the Stars.
Oh,
and technically we had that at Gen Con. We had it already in the States, and it went street date right at the last couple of days in August. And when we put out the press release for Among the Stars with our Artipia Games, we created a strategic partnership with them. Constantino's over at Artipia loves working with me. I love working with the guys, smart guys. So when we did that, we're like, okay, we're going to do quite a few games with you, hopefully in the future. And at that moment, I was just like, we're going to do the base game of this, and then we'll do some expansions, and we'll do more things in the future. And then as time went on, all of a sudden he said, yes, but now we're going to reprint the first expansion, the Ambassadors. Obviously, you want to be part of that, right? And I'm like, yes, I do, of course. Well, good time to print. When you all print together, you lower your costs. Great. And then he said, oh, by the way, we're also going to be doing the second expansions now, Among the Stars, expanding the Alliance. Okay, I'll do that one too. So there was 3 games, or 2 extra games that just sort of popped up more or less mid-year.
Among the Stars is so good though, so you're kind of no-brainer, right, on the expansions, right?
It really, it really is. Once you know a game is going to be a hit, or even a mediocre selling game, bringing out an expansion, not printing as many, will always help boost the base game. Right. So there was a layup to then do those 2 expansions. So we basically had Among the Stars, great card drafting game, 7 Wonders in Space. Some people say it.
Oh, it's better than, let me just say this. It's better than 7 Wonders. I'll just tell you that right now. We played the heck out of this game last Tuesday, and it was so good. The art's fantastic. I like the theme better than 7 Wonders, but more for some reason it's just easier, faster, and less downtime than 7 Wonders. And there shouldn't be any downtime in 7 Wonders, but for some reason there is. And I just really like it. We were playing this, and everybody's like, we need to play again. We need to play again. And we need to add more stuff because it's just so awesome. A great game. And I love the variant where you are restricted by the table space. That is so much fun.
I don't even know that.
You don't know that one? It's right in the back of the book.
I never even read it.
Okay, so I got to tell everybody about this. If you haven't played Among the Stars this is the way everybody in our local group plays it now. It's the best way to play it. So, Rick, I don't know if you had a chance to try this game yet, but basically,
I haven't played a game in months.
Right. So basically, what's happening here is you are drafting cards, as Steven says. So you're getting 6 cards. You're picking one. You're adding it to your space station. When you add it, these are square cards, and so you're going to put them face up right into your existing space station. You start with just a reactor and you start adding stuff. So you might add laser turrets, and then you might add crew quarters, and then you might add the Galactic Council room, and you keep adding things, right? And where you're adding them, when you put them down, what they're adjacent to gives you bonus victory points, and you're tracking victory points in real time, and all play is simultaneous. And after you lock your room in, you pass the rest of your cards in one direction, then you're stuck with whatever the person gave you. You got to add that to your ship. What's cool about this, though, is you're actually building a cool ship, but the variant with the table space rule is that you can't move your ship around the table. So if you run into the edge of the table, you can't build in any right direction. If one of your annoying opponents builds a straight line right out of his space station, right into the middle of your space station, you can't put cards that butt into his ship. So all of a sudden, and it's great to play on a very small table. It makes the game really, really mean. It's a lot of fun.
That is really cool. I've never done that.
You got to try it, Steven. It kicks the game to a whole new level of awesome.
I just played it this week too, which is kind of funny. So that is great. Yeah, I mean, we're going into a mini review here, but it's the spatial relationships between those cards that makes it stand way apart from 7 Wonders, where you just basically drop it on the table, and then later on you'll figure out the scoring. So that spatial relationship, how close or how far away things are from your reactors and from each other, and yeah, I think it's a fantastic game. So yes, the reception has been great. We went back to reprint it already.
Nice.
Yeah, it's just been great. The Ambassadors, the first expansion, which adds twice the game to it once you play, because now you're having ambassadors that are visiting the other players' space stations.
Yep.
That's kind of how that works. That has just been released. It's street dated this week, which is the week October 22nd. I'm sure this is going to drop a couple weeks later. And then Expanding the Alliance. Expanding the Alliance brings everybody sort of up to date in the Among the Stars universe, meaning that if you were a latecomer to Among the Stars, all the promo material that has ever been released.
Oh, nice. Is in there
by Artipia Games, because this game is actually 2 years old now.
Right.
I think it's 2 years old. All that promo material has been packed into this new expansion. So now you can get everything that everyone else has ever gotten in the game, and you can enjoy it the way everybody else does. So
cool.
That was number one, and it was in the top 30 games. A 2+ year old game was in the BGG top 30 games on the Geek Buzz. Came in and around, I don't know, in the mid-20s.
Does not surprise me. Really, really good game.
Thank you. Then another game that we also had at Gen Con, airshipped them in this case, was Panamax.
Now, this game has gotten, Stephen, I haven't had a chance to try this game out yet. I haven't even seen it. I know this was it premiering at Essen, or did you guys have it elsewhere before then?
I had it in very limited quantity at Gen Con.
So
Airshipped it into Gen Con, and it was definitely, air shipping in is like,
I was going to say, that's
the big pain in the neck for a publisher. It's like double the price of a first class ticket is what I always say. It's really nasty. So we airshipped in about 120 copies at Gen Con, and we sold out in 2 hours at Gen Con.
Yeah, not surprised.
And people always get up in arms when you do that, when you sell out,
so it's got huge buzz, Stephen. So what's the deal with Panamax? Why are people so excited about it? What makes it hot?
The deal with Panamax is simply this: if there is a very nice crowd of gamers, part of the gaming community that wants these heavy, thinky Euros, and this fills that niche quite well. It's the mid heavyweight Euro. It's not the super duper crazy heavy one that we're going to talk about in a second, but it is mid heavy, and it has some really, really smooth, interesting mechanics. Some of it which are not reminiscent of the 18XX games. The rail, some of those the old railroad games. Some of that is inspired in the game. Here in Panamax, you are trying to be the best shipper, shipping company, and personal wealth is actually what matters in the game. So you're trying to ship your goods through the Panama Canal. The name Panamax itself. I'm sorry?
Thus the name.
The name Panamax itself means the largest ship. It's an actual size. A Panamax is a size of ship, which shipbuilders have built to this specification for 100 years, since they built the Panama Canal 100 years ago. This is the 100th anniversary of the Panama Canal, 2014.
What a quick thinky.
Yeah, it's very, very, very apropos that we brought it out this year.
How'd that happen?
How did that happen? We were thinking. And so you're trying to be the best shipper of goods through the Panama Canal. There are some really innovative mechanics in there, as an action dice selection, where you'll be picking dice to do various things on the board to get contracts. And the coolest part to me is when you're bringing goods, when you're loading. I'm sorry, when you're bringing your ships through the canal system, if there's a ship in front of you, you must push it along with you through the locks, which is going to help somebody else potentially. There's also these lakes that are built into Panama. That is where the canal goes through into these lakes. So you can push somebody into the lake, and then you can continue through the canal system. So you have to help them completely. So we've really tried to simulate the entire movement of ships in the canal system, but also, of course, have to simplify some of the pieces of it, because you still have to make a game out of the whole thing. So really, really innovative mechanics in this deep, thinky Euro with lots of interaction based on that pushing mechanic, as I mentioned, plus the contracts, the action dice selection, where I'm going to get a contract possibly before you and things like that.
Neat. So it sounds like it's been received very well.
Has been received very well. We sold out completely.
Awesome.
This is one of the we sold out, of course, at Essen, of course at Gen Con, of course at Essen, but literally sold out in distribution.
Wow!
Before it came out, I hit the print button again.
Wow!
So,
I guess you got a winner there. Oh, wow, nice.
So I doubled the printing on the game even before it was released.
Before anybody saw it on a store shelf. Wow, that's amazing.
Right.
Nice.
And the next heavyweight game, and the true heavy monster weight game, is Kanban, Automotive Revolution.
See, now this game has me really interested because my real job, I am a product manager for software development, and we do Scrum Agile, which is based on Lean, which is based on Kanban. So Kanban is for those who don't do this, it's sort of a process, a lean-based process for getting things done. And the automotive industry is very famous for executing on this, and several manufacturers do a really, really good job with this. Just-in-time inventory is part of that whole thing, all the other things, buzzwords you've heard about. So you've made a game out of this, Stephen?
That's right. I mean, for those geeks out there that are into process management or project management, you just stated all of the background story for Kanban. Kanban, the name itself, is the Japanese word for billboard, and Toyota and Honda developed this system, and this is why they dominated the auto industry in the 1990s. I mean, they were just killing it. Since then, others have adopted this similar types of processes as well, process management as well. Just in time is what it's called. Pieces of your process arrive just in time to be used. It's an entire process flow that is important. Many Euro games in and of themselves do exactly that. So Vital Lacerda, who is also known for CO2 by me and by Vinos, by Z-Man, I believe, brought it out. He created this. He implemented this system whereby you're going to be producing cars on the board. You're going to have to get contracts. You're going to have to get parts. You're going to have to upgrade those parts. And you're actually going to send cars down the line, the production line, and onto a test track. It looks...
Wow. I got to tell my wife about this game because she's an automotive journalist. And so Kanban, the game about automotive revolution, automotive manufacturing, I think she has like hundreds of people on her mailing list that she could probably get them to play this game.
That would be great. Thank you very much.
Sounds awesome. Now, let me ask you this, Stephen, because I saw this, right? And at first, literally my job came to my head before my gamer self came to my head. I was like, could I actually use this game to teach the principles of Kanban? Is it that kind of a thing? Or is it more just, it's a really cool game with the Kanban theme? Or does it actually leverage Kanban principles right in the game mechanics?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that you're going to be able to teach, what Kanban and Lean is all about. I mean, I got to be honest about it. I believe, though, that the marriage of the mechanics to this theme is absolutely brilliant.
Cool.
He has really made it such that you have to time everything that you're doing, in a certain way to score really well. There's also other parts of the game where if you get certifications in the various areas that you're going to be able to score more points as well. So, it's extended across bigger than what Kanban is. But I'm not going to profess that this is a teaching game. Heck, I mean, I actually know of some teaching. Somebody reached out to me recently and said, "Could we use this in a class?" I mean, the current thing that we use costs $5,000.
Right.
I was like, "Whoa, well."
That's what I'm saying. People pay a lot of money to learn Kanban. So I was like, if this actually teaches the principles, or even just sort of demonstrates their properties,
textbooks do it, Steve.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah, it's educational. Bing, 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 bing.
Yeah, there's something there, Stephen. There's something there. There's Kanban, the teaching game, at some point. Yeah. Just leverage that.
All you got to do is include an additional pamphlet.
So this sounds like a pretty heavy Euro. That you're going to want to be a gamer for this, right? I mean,
this is also both Panamax and Kanban are both gamery games, and this is the heavyweight of the two. If I would say one's a bigger game, Kanban is that bigger game. It's got this nice, solid, dense 16-page rule book. It's actually amazingly, once you get the flow of it, it's very approachable. But there are literally on the board 6 departments. So because if you think about it, you need all of these departments to have all of these flows. They all have to intersect. They all have to be part of this process, and therefore it's all shown on the board. So you have to kind of know the rules and how you deal with each portion of this, and therefore it gets meatier and meatier. Once you get it all, it actually is very approachable. But again, these are the heavyweights, and there obviously is a market for these big heavyweight Euros, and this game has not even been solicited. Now this is interesting. Hasn't even been solicited for distributors yet. It's about to be. and I've already hit the print button again because I realized I don't want to have any delay in getting more games to the U.S. So I've committed to essentially another print run, a full.
Well, I feel like Essen's like if you're going to release a heavy Euro, isn't Essen like the place anyway? So did Kanban do well for you at Essen? It sounds like it did.
It was the first game at Essen to sell out for me. Sold. Normally, what happens is when I bring games and I tell the retailers that show up, because a lot of European retailers are there and they want to pick up some of the big new games.
Right.
They show up and they'll buy either a case of an entire case of each game or several copies of each game. I told them all that it's based on what I have left on Sunday. If you can show up on Sunday morning, I can allocate some games to you. By Sunday morning, I had no more than a handful of copies left. Maybe I had a little under 3 cases left, and I said I'm selling these to the customers. So none of the retailers are able to get Kanban. I sold some Panamax to retailers. I sold some of the other games to retailers, and we'll talk about it in a little bit. But I sold no Kanban because it was that close to selling out. And I brought a lot of copies of both Panamax and Kanban and more of the other games we'll talk about in a second. That
was neat. So 2 heavy ones. So what else what were some of the big releases there you had?
Diamonds, which I also had over at Gen Con, because it released in early September. Mike Fitzgerald's trick-taking card game.
Yeah, I played it. Diamonds is fantastic. This is another great game you guys did because so I have this, I think I mentioned on the show before, Craig, I have this little gaming group at work.
Lunching gaming cabal.
There are two groups in our little work gaming.
You almost said cabal.
I almost did say cabal. There are 2 groups in our work gaming club. One group is led by an actual dyed-in-the-wool gamer who actually is on Board Game Geek all the time, and he's got all kinds of crazy board games that we would normally cover on the show. But another group of them are card game people. They play you name it, bridge, hearts, spades, whatever. And so sometimes it's hard to get them to cross the line to the other side. So I figured diamonds would be and it worked perfectly, Stephen. It was great because it got them all of a sudden to think about components and little great bling, but it's actually a fantastic trick-taking game with a neat twist that they really enjoy because it's so different from what they're used to with hearts and spades. So, great game, a lot of fun. I also play with my mother-in-law. It's one of those great, gateway games that you can get anybody at the table with and have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, it really is. It's a wonderful take on trick taking. Just when you thought what else can you what else new can you do with a simple trick taking card game? Mike Fitzgerald comes up with that and does it brilliantly. And of course, I had to bling it out. We had to use the theme of diamonds. Right. With the Art Deco cards and all of those 135 acrylic crystals that we put into the game to represent the diamonds themselves, the currency of the game that you will use to score the most diamond crystals that you have either in your vault locked away or in your showroom, which are in front of you, which are a little more volatile and can be stolen. Right. That's going to win the game. This actually, of all the games at Essen, sold the most copies. But
really?
The reason, it's
affordable though, right?
Now we're at a lower price point.
Right.
Number one, but also I brought more copies, figuring it was going to be a more of an impulse purchase. So it sold a few more. I brought an extra 100 copies. Then I brought a Panamax and Kanban, which both sold out. So this sold a little bit more than those two. I did take some back to the freight forwarder for me. But it was, rushing out the door, and you can see the families buying it. You can see the gamers buying it. It was one of those things where people are sitting down and like, card game. Okay, I'm going to play this for a little bit, and like, boom. Then all of a sudden, just the fun just starts happening. So
nice.
It's been a really nice reception to this game. When Diamonds first hit the street, it was sold out every place on the first day it was out, and you couldn't find a copy on any of the major online retailers. So the buzz keeps continuing on it, and the reception to the game continues. So it's been really great.
Nice, very good. So is that the main games? Did you have any other big new titles?
The other big new title was Medina, which is a reprint of a game from that was released by Rio Grande in 2001. And Medina, if you know the game at all, it's an abstract game about city building. You're trying to build the Medina, which is a city in the foot of the Atlas Mountains, is the color there, but somewhere in the Middle East. And you're building walls, and you're building palaces, and all of these pieces are represented with wood. Beautiful, shaped, carved out wood. When the original game was produced with its like almost 200 pieces of wood, people was like, "Oh, this is gorgeous! I love it. This is wonderful," and it sold out. But of course, since I was bringing it back, I had to do one better. So, and this is a function of 2001 wood tooling versus 2014 wood tooling. So all the pieces look that much more refined, that better cut on them.
Right.
And there's still 200 pieces plus almost 200 pieces of wood in the game. We added, of course, some extra things in cooperation with the designer Stefan Dora, who I got to meet there. He's a wonderful designer. I love some of the stuff he's done, and I got to meet him there for the first time. We added a new piece called the Well. We added these tea tiles, so the whole thing came together. It was a nice release. This didn't sell quite as much. I only had 100 copies anyway, but and I sold out by the end of the show. But the Europeans have had this more in circulation for a while.
Right.
This is going to be great for the American market. This will be street dating on November 19th. So those who want to see and present a game to people that is just beautiful to put on the table and show it on the table. This is something that they're going to want to look
I've seen some
into.
pictures online. It looks fantastic. I'm looking forward to seeing it locally. Yeah.
It's just, I mean, talk about bling. I mean, it is, for a game with just wood, basically, you have a board, you have a two-sided board now, so you can play. There used to only be a 3 to 4 player game, but now on one side of the board you play 2 players, the other side is now 3-4. And just all of his wood components and some extra tiles in there. People just look at this as the city is building. I mean, you're literally seeing pieces being placed, and the city gets built and built and built and built in the game, which looks beautiful in its end game condition. So, really sweet.
Very cool. So that's the big hotness you had there. Was there any? You already talked about the Among the Stars expansions. Any other expansions you had there?
Yeah, we know of at least a couple.
Yeah, we do.
And a few more things that came out. In the realm of Core Worlds, we came out with the second expansion for Core Worlds Revolution.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
This is the Andy Parks' game. His take and my take on deck building. It uses deck building as just part of the game, not like the entire game, like many other deck builders are. Here we focus on a lot more of the thematic elements of Core Worlds. Core Worlds has always been called a very thematic game, a very rich universe. You feel like you're traveling through the galaxy. Here we're now focusing on the heroes in the game. Everybody starts with a hero, and heroes emerge in the various sectors of the galaxy. Now, every one of those heroes has 3 heroic tactics cards that are placed in a deck that is right next to your draw deck. So you have another draw deck every time you deploy your hero, any one of them, into the war zone. If one of his heroic tactics cards are on top, because they have different backs on them, on top, you can draw that into your hand, and it doesn't count against your hand size, and it has a very powerful effect.
Nice.
The heroes that you get later on, during the different sectors, have really, really powerful effects. So you're only going to probably be able to use those once or twice during the whole game. So, again, we're expanding that thematic nature of the game because it is so thematic to begin with. And Andy has taken so much care in trying to bring that out in the cards themselves and in the way the game feels and plays out. Really proud of this. It's like sort of another where people loved the Galactic Orders. It was just like a game changer. Revolution continues to really affect the game in a core basic way, and now also expanding the thematics of it. So something for those fans of Core Worlds. To me, it's another one of those must buys.
Nice. So that was obviously Core Worlds doing great for you guys. And then of course you have Space Cadets. You must have had some Space Cadets expansions there.
Yes, we did. We had an expansion both for the original Space Cadets and for Dice Duel, which was the second base game.
Right.
Dice Duel's expansion, actually, we had some of those at Gen Con. This is called Space Cadets Dice Duel Die Fighter.
Right.
Here, we now have 2 fighters that you can add into the game. So you can play the game now with up to 10 players when you have 4 ships on the board.
Because the game's not hectic enough already. You need more people throwing dice.
Since it's not crazy enough,
right.
You obviously need more people and more ships on the board, of course.
Of course.
So you can play up to 10 players or down to as low as 2 players. So really big scaling, 2 to 10 players. With 2 players, you'll just play with the 2 fighters dogfighting each other.
Yep.
With 10 players, you'll play with all 4 ships. And there's plenty of combinations. You can play with even 3 players. This is a number that we haven't explored in this game or in many games. You have 2 fighters versus a capital ship. You can have, just the capital ships playing with these new experimental equipment cards. So there'll be if you want to play with this, there'll be a pre-draft during the game. You draft these experimental equipment cards, and some of your dice can be used to be placed on these cards so you get a benefit during the game, enhanced shields or better weaponry and things like that. So it adds many different ways of playing this crazy, frantic game already, and we really think that those lovers of Dice Duel are going to really enjoy die fighting now.
That's awesome. Now, I know Space Cadets Dice Duel did really well for you guys when it launched, and it's been a big success for you all. I'm really curious, though. It's such a unique game and got such crazy mechanics, but it definitely feels more like an American-style game than a Euro. How does a game like Space Cadets Dice Duel do over at a place like Essen?
I think there is a perception that American-style games don't sell in Europe, and it's not true. I think the Europeans love this kind of stuff as much as anybody. They're just known that they sort of created the Euro market, and we maybe created the American-style market, but the game sells very well there.
Okay.
Dice Duel premiered in Essen last year, and we killed with it. We sold out of all the copies we had of Dice Duel last year, and I brought a lot of Dice Duel last year. And this year, Die Fighter did extremely well there because obviously people who love Dice Duel are buying Die Fighter now.
Nice. Did you have a lot of people coming back remembering you as the Space Cadet Dice Duel guys looking for the expansions?
Oh yeah,
Nice.
That's sort of, it's great. You see the same people year after year, and a lot of times some people don't, they'll just buy the games and leave. But a lot of people want to sit there and chat, and as long as I have time and I don't have a meeting, I'm on the floor talking to people and taking pictures of people. I've taken some very funny pictures in Essen. People are like, now they're my best friend. They're like, Buonocore, hey, so no, it's been great there.
That's awesome.
And the final thing.
Yeah, okay.
The final game.
Yes, the final game.
Because we didn't mention the original Space Cadets and its expansion. Space Cadets Resistance is mostly futile.
So this is back to the there's dice in Space Cadets, but this is now the original Space Cadets that is all about different mini games you play as in a cooperative game, right?
That's right. This is the bigger mission-based game. Everybody takes a different bridge station. Everybody has a different mini game during their 30-second period of time. Here in Resistance is mostly futile, we've added a new station. So you can now, it used to be a 3 to 6 player game. You can now go down to 2. We have 2-player missions and up to 7 players.
Wow.
And in a 7-player game, you're adding in the Science Officer.
Nice.
The Science Officer. What does he do? Well, guess what? Science Officer is a very well-intentioned gentleman. He's going to be building this great experimental equipment for you as well. We talked about that in Dice Duel, but now you have the Science Officer doing it in Resistance. In Resistance is mostly futile expansion. But to do that, he's going to be grabbing pieces of the ship away. He's going to be like taking like one of the components from the weapons officer, like, the long piece that you need to use all the time. And he might take one of the helm cards so the helmsman can't do it. And you take those out of the game. And now he builds this thing and he hands it over to the captain or whoever the appropriate person is. And you now have a piece of equipment that hopefully will help you more than what he did by hurting you by taking away your other pieces of equipment, your other components in the game. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I know. It's Engelstein is brilliant. The kids are brilliant. They just know how to make games that will just tantalize you and make you insane and bring things together. So it is another one of those must-buys. If you love Space Cadets, you're just going to really love how this is integrated into the game. And more missions in the game. The new Space Kraken is this crazy creature that's coming after you. So
nice.
It's really nice.
Well, awesome. Well, we got a lot of information on all your cool titles you launched there, Steve. We probably should ask a little more about Essen, though. So,
I want to ask a couple just really like logistical questions.
Sure.
Like last year, Stephen, you talked a little bit about how Essen is almost entirely like the vendor hall at Gen Con, and that's pretty much all of that Essen is. But is it like stretched over multiple? Like what is Essen? You know, like if I'm going to Essen for the first time, what do I walk into?
You walk into the largest exhibit hall you've ever seen in your life.
Is it all one hall?
No, it's not.
But
it's three.
But there's one enormous hall.
It's three very large halls. They've changed the configuration over time. At one point, they were, the halls are numbered.
Yeah.
They go from 1 to 12. Back when I started going, they were using halls 4 through 12, and now due to renovations that are going on, they're now using halls 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
Halls 1, 2, and 3. In fact, hall 3, the one that I'm in, is bigger than all the other halls combined. That's how big this thing is. It literally is like an aircraft hangar. You can put. I mean, I don't know this for fact, but you can put a 747 into this thing. It is that insanely large. And they have these two other halls, hall 1 and 2, which are also large, creating what for gamers is the largest exhibit hall in the world. I am positive. Now, there's always been this thing. What's the bigger convention? Gen Con or Essen, or the Spiel, as they call it. Now, it's now been proven that Gen Con is larger in the total number of attendees there.
Oh, really? I thought it was like a long established fact that the opposite was true. Weird.
It seemed to be. It seemed to be for a long time. Gen Con has published its because it's the way you measure attendance.
Right. Yeah.
You can measure it as you bought a ticket and therefore you're counted as one person,
right.
Or I bought a 4-day ticket and there I'm 4 people. That's called a turnstiles. So Essen has always done turnstiles and Gen Con's just been tickets. So now when they both measure it in the same way and they both publish both of their numbers, Gen Con is larger in the sheer number of people going there.
Wow,
Gen Con has more to do there, though. So you can be at Gen Con and just go to panels and just go to entertainment things and just do true dungeons. So there's so many of these other things you can do at Gen Con. In Essen, it is simply the exhibit halls, but they are bigger, and every person has multiple tables set up so that you can play all the games. So if there's almost any game for sale, and I can't say every game for sale, but every new release that's coming out is being shown, demoed, and played, in that exhibit hall. And that's the allure of Essen. 800 new games essentially show up all on one day, that first day and for that weekend, in Essen. And that's the big allure. People come from all over Europe and stream there to do this. The evenings, people kind of disperse to the four winds. They just, you have to kind of find something to do. Many of the hotels have space you can go game and stuff like that, but the hall closes. There's no more gaming space. So that makes the feel very, very, very different. But I know a lot of people went for the first time this year. At first, they felt very like, I don't know what to do. It's kind of weird. I don't know what I'm going to do. But after a while, you get into the flow of like, well, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to play games in the Stronghold booth. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to play games in the Portal Games booth. And you just kind of do that throughout the day. In the evening, you have a nice big meal. Maybe you go out, have a few drinks, or you then go and back to your hotel with people, or one of the hotels where people are going to meet up and play games over there. So that's sort of the flow of the thing. It is a very, very, very different experience than at Gen Con.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Tom Vassell was here this year.
Yeah, I saw that. He and Eric and everybody were there. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
And he said, that he hadn't been there in years, and it sounded like he had a good time. He didn't complain and moan and try to get into arguments with me that, which was a bigger convention. He looked like he was having a good time wandering around and actually getting a chance, I think, to play some games.
Good.
Very cool.
So, speaking of attendance, did you feel like Essen was bigger, smaller, the same as last year?
It was, I would say, it was bigger. I mean, I don't know. I don't have certainly access to attendance figures, but it was mobbed from what I can see every day. Right after the open, not long after the open, every one of the tables in the Stronghold Games booth were packed. and just looking over it, we were at a great location this year again. I mean, I always get very good locations. We moved a little bit this year because Days of Wonder wanted more space.
Those
they've got more cloud, I guess. Well, there was their 10th anniversary of Ticket to Ride, so they basically consumed the space that I had last year. So when we moved at the intersection, it was really great. We moved intersection of hole 3 and hole 2. So it was a really nice path right next to Yellow and Pegasus, and our good friend Travis at Indie Board and Cards was right over in the same area. So we had this very nice area, and the traffic was great, and we were just packed the whole time. Walking, through the aisles was that kind of you can't move kind of experience that you get it at any really, really, really big convention. So that's a good thing. So that bodes well that it was a very big attendance year, and that seems to continue every year. I haven't been to an Essen where it's like, oh, this is not doing well this year. Whereas some other conventions in the U.S., some of the not Gen Con, but some of the other ones, they have ebbs and flows on years.
Right. No, well, let me ask you this. So I know you probably could never escape your booth, but if there were moments you could, or did you hear people talking like, beyond your awesome set of games, which clearly did very well for you and it were received well, were there other games there that were kind of like the talk of Essen? What was the hotness beyond the obvious Stronghold game hotness?
Well, it's funny. I think that everybody agreed this year that there was no like one product that was like everybody was talking about. I mean, people were rushing in to get things that were being released, but there was no one game, no one thing. I mean, all of my stuff. I mean, honestly, had great buzz, and it's on the hotness on the geek lists and everything. The biggest news that came out of Essen was some of the things that are going to happen a little bit later in the year, or next year. Before I start talking about that, I have to tell a little story. Little story time. I got, I try to keep up with emails while I'm away, but I don't often, I often can't, and I often don't, I don't see them until days later and stuff. But I got this email from let me think, what was his name? Craig Gallant, I believe his name was. Yes.
Oh, that guy.
So, you're going to call me out on the air.
He is. I love it. I love it. This is awesome, Marty. Let me hear. I don't know this story.
You don't know the story. This is great.
I don't know this.
Yeah, you do.
So I get an email from Craig, and he goes, "Steven, hope you're having a great time in Essen. Hey, by the way, if you can pick up a copy of Imperial Assault."
Oh, yes, I do know this story. Yes, because I was like, Craig, have him get 2.
You pick up a copy of Imperial Assault with me. I'm like, what? Wait, you want me to go mule a copy back with you?
Yes. Yeah,
I'm like,
what's your point?
I would have been satisfied if you'd have mailed it.
Right.
So
I would expect air freight, though.
Right.
Right.
Let me finish my story.
Sorry,
then you can yell back at me.
I'm not gonna yell.
So I'm like, Craig, the game hasn't released yet. What are you talking about? I actually asked Mike Fitzgerald because he's in touch with every release. He's like, no, that's not coming. That's not coming out for a while, like December or something like that. So I write him back. I said, it's not out until December. He goes, well, that's what the geeks are saying. He said, but you did say, in all honesty, Craig said, I'm 99% kidding. I mean, if it came to me, but I understand you're busy and it's hard to get these things.
Right.
So I then found out that they were releasing. They had it there.
This just seems unfair and unkind. what FFG did.
What did they do? So how many? So go ahead, Steven.
This is what they did. They had it, on display, and people can play it. That's very nice. So
they had that at Gen Con too. You could try it out. Yeah.
Right. And they sold 20 copies a day. I assume first thing in the morning.
20 a day.
Wow.
So that's
20 a day.
I guess 80 copies.
Yeah. Right.
So my guess is, here's my guess, right? And this is for me from knowing sizes and things like that. They probably shipped in one pallet of games.
Right.
Knew that they could sell that out in about 30 seconds.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So they put out games for people to see it and play it, and then allocated 20 copies a day to sell them.
Right.
That's about as fair a thing as you can do, I guess, for a game that's like a money printing press.
Right.
But anyway, I just thought that was very, and I didn't even know that it was there. So when you told me, I was like, you told me, I was like, what? No, it's not. Wow, you're crazy. But I thought it was very funny, and I had to tell that story because that's a true story, right?
It is a true story.
That was on
And then I apologized profusely.
No. I did not take it. I did not take it badly.
I know.
It was, and if I could bring it back, I would have, but I couldn't wait online there.
No. I had no. Well, first of all, I said 99% kidding. But second of all, I've never heard of anybody selling 20 copies of something like that.
Yeah,
especially 3 months in advance, 3 or more months in advance.
Yeah, I don't even know the street date of it. I heard someone said
it's
it was
a ways out.
December, but other people said it was later. So it's probably a while.
Yeah.
But the other really big news that came out of the show, I mean, I think this is this truly dwarfs anything that I've heard from board gaming in a while. Magic: The Gathering, the board game.
Yeah,
I
saw the announcement, but I didn't hear details. Did you see any? Were there any prototypes there or anything?
I did see it.
Yeah.
And again, this is just one of those what an epic money making machine this is going to be for them.
Right.
Basically, right. So they took HeroScape. You know HeroScape?
Yeah. So this is where the rumor started, because there was a brief rumor that HeroScape was back.
Right.
And I think it was because of the pictures of this game, right? I think this is what sort of. So are they? So go ahead, Steven. Are they melding HeroScape with Magic or something like that?
Essentially, that's the case. Now, I don't know all the rules. I didn't get a demo or anything like that. But essentially, you take the HeroScape terrain, right?
Yeah.
That kind of the HeroScape terrain itself. So now the HeroScape players themselves are going to be buying the thing because they can now add it because the stuff's been out of print forever. So you take that and you meld it with the summoning abilities, the card playing summoning abilities that Magic: The Gathering brings you, and there's going to be. From what I remember, your main guy. What's he called? I mean, your spellcaster or something. I think there's going to be you're going to have a main guy that's going to be on the board, and he's going to be summoning the other minions out there as well. So truly, it is a melding of the two things, and it looks cool. The concept sounds great, and God knows I wish I had this game. So, I mean, I wish I had it to play it, and I wish I had
you were publishing it
in my catalog, because talk about a money printing machine. This will probably be the biggest money machine that's come out of board gaming in forever, because you're melding all of these things that
you're taking a known winner, as long as they can get the mechanics right and the components are cool. I think if they're going to go HeroScape route, they got to do a good job on that.
Yeah, and I think from all the look of it seems like they will hit this. So kudos to Wizards of the Coast Hasbro for doing this. It's a great idea, and it's going to be good for the hobby. So kudos to them.
Very cool. Well, that is exciting news. So thanks for sharing that detail.
Yeah.
So we're running a little long, but anything else you wanted to mention from Essen? That sounds like a great report, and thanks so much for the details on your games there. What else did you see?
The only other thing was that Stronghold Games did make an announcement while we were on BGG TV there.
Ooh, what did you announce?
BGG TV.
Yeah, BGG TV.
Big time.
Yeah. Wow.
So I'll mention that the Stronghold Games Artipia Games Alliance, our strategic partnership, for the first time. I
was going to guess you bought Days of Wonder.
Yeah. Yes.
He's said that twice now, actually.
That would be great. Yes. I wonder how I would have paid for that. Good one.
Or Wizards. Go for Wizards. Go for the big guns.
You got to go.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to do it,
right.
go for the big
Go for
guns.
WotC.
You're going to do it. Do it big.
The great white whale.
Sorry.
We announced that the next part of the Among the Stars universe Stronghold Games would bring out, and that would be New Dawn. That's Artipia's latest game in the Among the Stars universe. Quite different than Among the Stars itself, but it's thematically in there. This is more of a Euro game with really, really great components. There's lots of plastics in the game, area control mechanics.
So is this like level 7 in the way that it's same universe but different game? So
I don't know. I've never played level 7.
Let me put it this way. You don't have to play more like, maybe like Fantasy Flight does with Rune Wars and Descent, where you're in the same universe but totally different games.
Absolutely. That is exactly what it is. So you're going to recognize the races. You're going to recognize the artwork.
God, the artwork's so good in this game. Really.
All of the Among the Stars stuff is just so beautiful.
Oh my God.
So you're going to recognize all of that.
Yeah.
So it's thematically, it's spiritually, somebody said, a descendant of Among the Stars, but now with a physical board game, not a card game, a physical board game with beautiful. It's got this huge 8-fold board. That was the most impressive thing I saw. Huge 8-fold board, and all these plastics that are going to be your I forgot what they call them, but they're the control markers in the game and how you take control of various portions of the game. So Artipia kickstarted that recently, and we're going to be getting it on the next printing with them. A 2015 release. Nice. So we'll be doing that with them. We also announced a new 2-player standalone expansion for Among the Stars itself. Codename Borderlands, that may or may not be the final name of the game, but you'll be able to take these new cards and put it directly into Among the Stars, so give you more ways of playing Among the Stars, or just to go head-to-head in a 2-player game using the standalone expansion itself, playing a 2-player version of Among the Stars.
Well, very cool.
Very, very cool.
That sounds very awesome.
Lovers of Among the Stars, the current game. And then something that is not fleshed out yet, but will be hitting during 2015, it'll be a new game, again, a new base game in the Among the Stars universe, like New Dawn, so that kind of thing. It's not part of Among the Stars, but thematically it is part of the universe. A new base game that's featuring what else? Fighting robots. So now you
wrong with that.
Kick each other's butts in like a.
Are they in space? Is it fighting robots in space? Because pretty much at that point you cannot lose.
It is fighting robots in space.
Yeah, win.
But it's more. Well, I shouldn't say in space as in the robots are in space, but they're on a distant world where.
And you have to go through space.
Right, close enough. It's good enough for me. I'm sold.
It's a sport that the races of in the universe have created this new sport that revolves around fighting robots.
So here's what I need next from Among the Stars, Stephen. Maybe you can talk to them. Let me know. So I'm playing this variant, as I mentioned earlier at the start of the segment, about how you can the table size restricts what you can build. And of course, one of the things you can build in your space station in Among the Stars is, of course, gun turrets and fighter bays. So I need the ability for my gun turrets to blow parts off of other people's stations so I can make room to build out. I need that mechanic in an expansion. Just saying. I don't know if it breaks the spirit of the game or some level, but any game where you can have lasers shooting other people's space stations and blowing bits off is a win. In my
That's
opinion.
a win. It's
so just throwing it out there. Not trying to claim I'm a game designer anyway, but I'm just throwing it out there as a thing.
It would kind of break the spirit of things, but
probably
I'll think about
just
that.
Pass it along.
I'll pass it along.
No, thank you.
I know a guy.
Okay, good. Well, Stephen, thank you so much for that detailed, in-depth analysis of Essen and all the hotness that is from Stronghold Games. Craig, do you have any questions?
No, it's just always fun. Always fun to talk to Stephen. Always super fun to hear about Essen and what's going on and what's coming up with Stronghold.
Yeah, but before we let Stephen go, now we got to have another segment a little later in the show. We got to talk about super geeky stuff. We got to really geek out now, Stephen. We're
gonna take geeking to 11 here.
Yes, tanking the dial to 11. But first, a word from our sponsors and Total Fangirl and that guy Reef Ranger.
I'm scared.
This is Total Fangirl. Regular Jane most days, total fangirl when the moment strikes. Han shot first. Starbuck is a guy. And Lestat, now there's a vampire. Hey everyone, this is Nicole, your Total Fangirl. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicole Wakelin and check out my blog, TotalFangirl.com. This week, our shout out is to all of our wonderful Patreon supporters. You too can support the show. Head on over to patreon.com/the D6 Generation. So this year I didn't attend as many conventions as I normally do. I missed New York, which I was sad about but happy about because I had a lot going on when New York Comic Con rolled around. But I'm a little short of my usual quota of convention experiences for the year. So something came to my attention that I'm going to attend, and I'm really excited. And it's going to be me and Russ and the girls. It's Northeast Comic Con. It's December 6th and 7th, and it's just in Wilmington, Massachusetts. So it's not that far away. We could just drive in both days. Although, it's kind of fun to stay overnight in hotels, so we might do that anyway. And although it's smaller, there's something to be said for those smaller conventions that don't get quite so overwhelming as something like a Comic-Con, New York Comic-Con or San Diego, where there's just so much going on that you run nonstop and the crowds can get a little overwhelming. And there's an element of the crazy and you're exhausted when it's all over, although you had a great time. this one is going to be a good bit smaller. I'm kind of looking forward to that. And they have some kid stuff, which a lot of conventions are doing these days. So there's special stuff geared towards the girls, and I'm sure that they will enjoy that, but they'll like the stuff that's just geared towards nerds in general just as much. But what I'm really looking forward to is something that I've never seen at a convention before, because I normally go in the fall or the summer. They're going to have Santa at this convention. And, you know, I do Christmas cards, and oftentimes they're pictures of the kids with Santa Claus, and sometimes they're pictures of us on vacation. This year it's probably going to be someplace from France or Germany, because that's where we were this summer. And that's great. And I think that's fun. And I love getting pictures of my friends and with their kids and their families and what they've been up to over the last year. But this time Santa is going to be at a nerd convention. So I have these visions of cosplayers going to get their pictures taken with Santa. Like, that would be the most epically awesome Christmas card that one could possibly do ever, possibly. Can you imagine you're like Darth Vader, a stormtrooper or something, and you're hanging out with Santa? Like, you're getting cold. You're Darth Vader. You're in trouble. I am so hoping that there are some cosplayers that take the time to go get their pictures with Santa, because I'm going to stand there and I'm going to snap these crazy pictures. You know, can you imagine it with some warrior princess type or something? And it could be really funny. And the girls are actually going to be dressing up. I have one child who will be Rainbow Dash from My Little Pony. And the other one is going to dress up as a medieval princess. She has this coolest outfit that she got at the Ren Fair. So if I can con them into sitting with Santa, I am so going to make that my Christmas card. My daughter dressed as Rainbow Dash, my other one dressed as a medieval princess, and then Santa Claus, the man in the big red suit, the ultimate cosplayer. So cross your fingers that the kids are willing to go along with this plan. And if you happen to be attending Northeast Comic-Con, we will be there. We will see you. And if you're a cosplayer, come on, somebody get your picture taken with Santa. I want a Darth Vader with Santa picture. Somebody make it happen.
Ooh, I think that's Vic the Viking, Craig.
I think it is, Russ.
That's our
amazing.
friends at The War Store over at thewarstore.com. You know, it's getting close to Black Friday, Craig.
Yeah, and of course their Black Friday sale is crazy, Russ, where it looks like piranhas are chewing on their website the entire day as entire swaths of things disappear at crazy good prices.
The internet goes nuts on Black Friday, and no one goes more nuts than the War Store. They have
Cyber Monday,
right.
Nothing compared to Black Friday over at the War Store.
Schwarzfreitag, as they say in Europe. So first, it's just great thing about the War Store is it's easy to navigate their awesome website. If it's a miniature game, it's on the War Store. It's just that simple. You have a miniature game you're interested in, hard to find, don't know if your local stockist carries it. Stockist, that's the word, Craig. Don't know if your local stockist carries it. Not a problem. The War Store, in all likelihood, has it in spades, or they're going to get it in soon.
And not only that, Russ, not only do they have the greatest stuff as soon as it comes out, but they are the first to get restocks.
Yeah.
Right now, you're looking at the Operation Ice Storm restock with a brand new Corvus Belli Infinity game, the Infinity 3rd Edition. That sold out like bam, it was gone.
Yep.
They've got their restock in already. Warhammer 40K Conquest, the fantasy flight game.
Yep.
Restock. Bam! They've got their restock set up. Boxes of it waiting for you because, Christmas is around the corner and the goose is getting fat.
That's right. So thewarstore.com, best prices on the net, but that's not what's going to impress you. What's going to impress you is the amazing service. The War
service
Store.
and everything about it. But that service is amazing.
And Vic's helmet, also pretty impressive.
It's very impressive. And you know what? His horn is awesome too.
I'm Rafe Hollywood Granger, and this is the Hollywood Minute.
All right. Welcome back. So, tonight's beverage of choice is a Pinot Noir from J. Lower. I don't know. People write in, they say they like to know what my beverage of choice is. So, let's see. Let's talk about the World of Warcraft expansion. So, somehow I got wrapped up into the hype of wanting to jump into the Warlords of Draenor. I did play a Draenei back in the day. Now, if you'll recall, I used to play Lord of the Rings Online, and then I went to WoW. I did not start with WoW. And I enjoyed it for the time I was in the world of Azeroth, but I never was a huge fan. The art style doesn't really connect to me. I don't know the history or the lore like I do in Lord of the Rings. And I made a Draenei, and he's a priest, and he was pretty cool. I'd made a priest because I wanted to do something opposite for tanking. And so here I am running around in the new world. Bought the expansion, which was stupid. I should have just paid for the monthly subscription and then see if I was interested. And I have pretty much no interest. So I'm hoping to play with Chris Flores and Greg Ivany and Stino. They're all have the game, and I've jumped online, but a few times that I've been online, I don't know if the tells don't work or whatever. So I haven't done that. Now, the whole time that that's been happening, because I've been playing the Lord of the Rings collectible card game, which is awesome, it's made me go, hey, I wonder how Stoney's doing over in Latro. Now, what's cool about Latro is I am what's called a VIP. I paid a initial subscription. I think it was only $200. Might have been $300, which was insanely crazy amount of money to pay at the time. But what that means is I am a VIP member, which means that I have a lifetime subscription to Latro. I get every update, everything free. So I downloaded and patched that, and I've been running around in there. And I mean, I'm talking only like an hour, and it's tough because my kin has gone away, and all I have in there is nostalgia. And I log in, and then literally within 3 minutes I log back out. I don't know what to do. I don't know what zone to go in. There aren't any more instances. There's just new content. But I keep longing for that fun, relaxing time that I used to have. So today, I did a lot of work today, a lot of shopping, a lot of work. Food prep, blah, 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 making soup. It's quiet. It's dark. I've got a glass of wine. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to jump back in. And for the first time in a long time, am I going to stay up till midnight? No. Am I going to be up reading? No. But the music, the jangle of my horse's harness brought me back for just a half hour. And I had a nice time roaming around and trying to solve one of the epic quests. And it's making me enjoy my collectible card game fetish enjoyable even more. Bought this really cool mat from inkedplaymats.com. Didn't even know you could do this, where you go on Board Game Geek, get these different high-res, JPEGs that people create. Somebody out there made a really cool 2-player playmat, sent that off to inkedplaymats.com, and poof, within like 2 days, I got a beautiful playmat. I'd like to thank Steve McLaughlin and the WWPD Fellowship, their podcasts. I've been tweeting them, and they've been helping me out with all things Lord of the Rings collectible card game. And I'd like to end with the Saga expansion known as The Hobbit. I finally killed the trolls. I'd like to thank Christian Flores for that. We played a mission with him, got stomped, and his tip, which was what basically happens is when you advance the first quest location, the next one is the trolls. He was like, hey, why don't you wait? Don't advance it so fast. Wait and build up your forces, meaning your deck. Meaning your stuff that's on the playable surface. And that was a brilliant idea. So that got me some time to build up some resources, get some allies in play, and that made all the difference. Also, there are cards in the encounter deck, the game deck, if you would, the Sauron's deck, if you would, that have a yellow or orange or red ring around them, and those are considered the standard level. If you take them out, it's easy level. So I took them out. And I felt really cheap about that because I wanted to play it on the standard level. But what I'm wondering is that I'm not so sure that it's easy level when played solo. Because remember, solo, I don't have the resources of all the other decks like you do with a companion. So I have to admit that it definitely was easier, but I looked at some of the cards because I actually missed a few of the so-called standard cards with the red ring. I missed a few when I was playing solo, and if they were in the deck, I easily would have died because a lot of them were like kill all my attachments, destroy all my attachments, or raise my threat, and I just would have been dead. So I did beat it. I did not beat it with the red ring cards, and I'm wondering if anybody's out there has actually ever done it with a solo situation. So that's what's been going on in my neck of the woods. I'm looking forward to talking about the end of the year predictions with the boys. That'd be Russ and Craig. And until then, chowie for nowie. And as always, if you'd like to follow me, you can follow me on the D6G Hollywood on Twitter or Hollywood at the D6generation.com or the blog jimmydjango.com. Check out the blog. I did crank out 2 blog articles to stick to my quote 1 per month quote. What really happened was I skipped 1 last month, but I wrote 2 for this month. So check those out over at jimmydjango.com. Until next time.
Hey, Craig, you know what season it is now?
What season is it, Russ?
It's Kickstarter season for our friends at Game Salute.
That's right. Over at Game Salute, they have launched buku Kickstarters for a multitude of second editions of their games.
Or expansions like... Sunrise City Nights. You know, you had the day, now it's time for the nights.
Now you've got the nights, indeed.
Right. What about, look at this. There's also
Epic Death Hardcore mode.
Yeah, second edition of Nothing Personal is in stock now. Keyflower, The Merchant.
Russ's favorite, Formula E, now with more elephants.
Yes, you definitely
Second edition now on Kickstarter.
And then, did we say also, Alien Frontiers, the 4th printing is now in stock as well. 4th edition, back in stock.
King's Forge, which is like, everybody's talking about King's Forge just coming out, and they're all super excited about it. It was a big deal over at Gen Con, and now Apprentices and second edition now on Kickstarter.
And my favorite 4X game that I am so excited for, and it's right there in Game Salute on the in the Game Salute store there, is Tiny Epic Kingdoms. I love this game, Craig. It is so good.
Want to know a secret?
What's that?
Not only did I buy it, but I've played it.
Yeah, what do you think?
I loved it, and I used it as a tool in my classroom when we had to talk. We had to do an advisory on goal setting.
There you go.
And what better thing to teach goal setting than a small game, a small 4X game?
Exactly.
And the kids were all wrapped in there, like, oh my god! And that's not like theater kids; these are across the spectrum. All of these different kids, they loved it. So yeah, I would say Tiny Epic Kingdoms is a big hit.
So what you want to do is head on over to GameSalute.com, click on the little shopping there if you want to go shopping there. And if you do decide to shop right there in the Game Salute store, and you might want to, if you do that, make sure you put in the code D6G157. That's D6G in the episode number.
That's
to get
this episode.
Great savings right there at the GameSalute.com.
That's right. GameSalute.com.
This is the Dice Tower Network at Dicetowernetwork.com.
Sharon, welcome to the pub. We're going to call this one McNerdigan's Pub Talk.
Ooh, I like it.
That's what Russ put on the show notes. But anyway, it was
I think it was Buonocore that did that,
It was
actually.
Buonocore that did it.
Yeah.
Oh, it was Buonocore. Oh, even better.
I think so.
Anyway,
do we have
this is Steven's idea to sort of take the pulse of geek culture at this particular moment, sort of a snapshot, if you will, about what's going on, what people are doing, and is it a good time to be a geek right now, or is it a bad time to be a geek right now? And of course, Geekly McNerdigan thinks it's great.
Hey, Geekly, while he's here, though, Stephen, we need to follow up with him on this, because in Achievements talked about it a little bit, but in Rapid Fire this episode, Geekly, Geekly brought up this idea that there were top 10 games
Indeed.
a year ago on Board Game Geek, and
there were.
Why don't you tell us what those were? Because you didn't tell us in the segment.
I'll be more than happy to, Russell. I didn't want to because I thought it would take up too much time in my pithy little segment. But now that you bring it up, I've never even heard of half of these, and I'm intrigued to see what you guys have heard about. Number one, the first most looked forward to game for 2014 is a game called Zaya, Legends of a Drift System.
Yes.
Yeah. No.
And heard anything about it?
No.
Mm-mm.
No, me neither.
Nope.
The second game was Cthulhu Wars.
Yeah.
Of course, a giant Kickstarter.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything since the Kickstarter, though.
Nope.
Anyone know?
Nope.
No?
Nope.
Okay. Number three was Myth. Yet another giant Kickstarter.
Yeah, some of our
This one
friends
had
got
all
that
kinds
one.
of problems with its rules, however.
Yeah, I saw some of our friends play that one. Yeah.
Yep, just based on local guys talking. They wanted to love it. They were very intrigued. A lot of guys backed it to the hilt. And I haven't heard anything since they totally revamped the rules because the rules they came out with were apparently very confusing.
Right.
Number 4 was apparently known to Mr. Buonocore, so Seafall is what it's called. What's that all about?
Seafall is the next game in the Legacy series that Rob Dalvio did, Risk Legacy.
Oh, yeah.
And,
that is highly
interesting. Seafall is being done for my very, very, very good friends over at Plaid Hat Games, and I wish he was doing it for me because I love the whole concept of that game that evolves over time, and literally the game changes, and you mark the board. And, I mean, that whole idea is so brilliant. And
now,
Rob
sadly,
Dalvio
with only 2 months to go in 2014, has it come out yet?
No, it's not. Yeah, they delayed it because it's a very big game to try to do.
Yep.
So
it's being, now I remember it.
Yeah, it's being so hard to do. They delayed it specifically, but it will be coming out, and it will be brilliant. And I will own a copy because I love both Plaid Hat and I love Mr. Dalvio.
Yeah,
there you go. Number 5 is Shadows of Brimstone, of course, from Flying Frog Productions. That yet another Kickstarter, and this one seems to have had some issues with delivery and stuff like that, but is now landing locally. And I have seen some really enthusiastic posts about it. I was excited about it, but in the final analysis, I decided not to back it at it was one of those back it at $150 level and you get $400 worth of stuff.
Right.
But I didn't want to back it at $150 either. So, but it was really cool. The models looked cool. Apparently they're getting a lot of pushback from the board game community though, because this is actually like modeling plastic models. This is not your board game models that just come out ready to play out of the box or can snap together. So, intriguing to see where that goes, because they kind of just like, because of the Kickstarter and its success, they were able to just sort of create this massive game complete with a ridiculous number of expansions all at once and see where that goes. But I'm at least aware of that. Are you guys aware? Were you aware of that or interested at all? Or
yeah, no.
Nah.
No. All right. Number 6 was Pandemic: The Cure.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Sure, that just came out for Essen.
Did.
The next game in the Pandemic series, the next expansion.
But was it like a really big game?
Well, expansions do less than base games always, but it had great hype. I haven't played it, but it's been released, and I bet it's going to do fantastic.
Alrighty. This was a big one for Russ. Sentinels of the Multiverse, Vengeance.
Yes, I like that a lot. It came out, it's an expansion again, but a great expansion for Sentinels. Good game.
Yeah, okay. Everybody knows. Now, this is the first one that I think I can comfortably say everyone knows, number 8, which was King of New York.
Yes. Yeah. And that was big.
And that was big. And I enjoyed it much more than King of Tokyo. So...
Yep.
So that was like that. So we're at number 8 before we hit anything that I'm like fully like cognizant of, and certainly wasn't cognizant of it a year ago. Now this is one thing that irks me about any of these things on Board Game Geek, and it's true of anything where the masses of humanity are allowed to do their own thing, and on a lot of these Board Game Geek polls and stuff like that, people put in their own ideas and make their own collections in their heads. And for instance, number 9 on the most anticipated list is all of the X-Wing 2014 expansions, which doesn't seem like it should count for what are you looking forward to the most as far as the new games go.
Sure.
Then number 10 was a big one, was a big hit locally with some of the guys at Gen Con, and that was Dead of Winter.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Dead of Winter did quite
well.
well.
I knew. So yeah. So
that's a fantastic game.
It is.
And again, by Plaid Hat Games. Another shout out to Plaid Hat. They are killing it. My buddies at Plaid Hat are killing it.
Yeah,
I played it. Fantastic game. The Crossroads system, which it's based upon, is fantastic. The game kind of evolves again, but like not that the game changes game to game, but the way the game plays out is going to change. Is going to be very different every time you play it. So I really loved it when I played it.
Excellent. So those are the top 10, and I would think I'm just out of touch, but apparently with you guys, most of these feeling the same way, I guess. I don't know. Is it a good time to be a geek? I would say yes.
I think so. So, Stephen, why don't we, now that we got the games out of the way, because, enough about games. We talk about those all the time on the show. Let's talk about other geeky goodness. And, Stephen, since this is your concept, why don't you take us through the various categories here? What did you want to start with first?
I think a good place to start is just television. I mean, television right now for a geek, I think we're really golden age kind of stuff. I mean, it's an amazing amount of geek TV that's out there. I think that a lot of it is centered around the comics too, which of course is huge.
It's like Hollywood just discovered in the last 5 years. Hollywood figured out that, hey, these comic book guys can write interesting stories. Let's go base all of our stuff on them.
They can write interesting stories. Not only can they write interesting stories, but they can also do anything.
Right.
Because you're living in a fantasy world. It doesn't exist. So whatever the imagination can come up with, you can do. And there's so much source material in all of these comics, because some of them have been going on, right? Batman's been going on since the 40s, 50s. Crazy.
Yeah, forever.
So amazing amount of time. So there's so much source material they can draw upon. And speaking of Batman, why don't we start right there?
Okay.
Have you seen Gotham?
I have seen Gotham.
Yep.
Now Nicole and I, we started off with Gotham and we had sort of this little up and down thing with it. At first we saw it, we thought it was cool. Then they started folding in more of the villains that are from the Batman universe that Batman meets later in life. Like they all kind of know and are connected to Commissioner Gordon and Bruce Wayne, at an early age. Like even Catwoman as a girl, knows Bruce Wayne as a boy kind of thing. Yeah. So that started bothering me. But as I started watching it more, I started to divorce myself mentally from the fact that this is Batman and just kind of say, this is a cool show. And I'm loving it now. I am loving the Penguin character. Oh my God.
Absolutely, absolutely love this show. I mean, the first episode of the show, which this is a controversial statement, but it was one of the best opening episodes for any series of all time. Now, there's a lot of, before people kill me on the statement, that obviously they try to throw a lot at you, a lot of characters and stuff. So some people said this is nonsense. They shouldn't all be there at the same time and this and that. But they were building a world and setting a stage right there, and I think that they did a phenomenal job of doing that. Now, if you just think about it for a second, when I heard that they were going to be doing Gotham, so you're going to be doing Batman without Batman?
Right.
I mean, that is the most ridiculous idea I've ever heard. But what they're doing is, there is a character, Bruce Wayne. He's a child. They start the series. Well, I guess we can say that now. It's not that big.
Scene.
They start the series where, his parents get killed, right? So that's the beginning of the Batman legend. And that's the time frame this takes place in. So they're showing all of the early classic Batman foes, because they're all pretty young and they're not in positions of power.
Right.
Some of those that are mentioned in the series, in the comics, are there and now in that position, but they're not the major villains like Falcone. And the other mobster, I can't remember his name.
I forget his name too, but I love it. You're absolutely right. I think they do a great job. And once I kind of just let that go and kind of it's a reboot kind of thing, I'm loving it now. And I think you could know nothing about the fact that it's based on Batman at all, even, and really, really like this show. It's just the way they're writing the characters, the way the villains are so evil. It is such a really good show. And I think Gotham is a great show right now. One of the best shows on, one of the best new series this season, regardless of comic book or not.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. And I think if you have any, I'm a huge Batman fan. If you have any love of that, the Batman universe, divorce yourself a little bit from the true canon. And just kind of get into the zen of how they're laying this out, and it is great. As you said, the Penguin character, brilliant.
Oh, he's
and
awesome.
Obviously, he's going to rise to huge prominence. Just obviously that's going to happen very soon, or at some point during the season.
Right. Well, he's set. No, it's awesome. No spoilers.
I'm not a comic book guy, and I'm not a big Batman guy, and I love it also.
Yeah.
I think they're talking. They're keying into all kinds of really cool archetypes. Some really nice dramatic tropes that work really well, and it's just familiar enough. It doesn't bother. I like mishmashing things together and kind of weaving it all together. And I would agree with Steven. I thought the the pilot episode was great.
Nice.
Yeah.
The whole, I hate to continue on this too long because we have so much to talk about. But the whole it's like film noir look of everything.
Yeah. Oh man,
the sets. I mean, the attention to detail is off the hook.
I love the CGI.
It's just like crazy
because they didn't just make it New York, right? It has to be Gotham, which is not a real city.
Yes.
So as they pan across the skyline, they've obviously done a lot of CGI work with whatever city they're actually filming in, and it just looks cool. They get a really cool look going on. You're right. The attention to detail is just fantastic. Really, you're right. This is just a great show. It's one of the best. It's the best new show this season, in my opinion. It's really fantastic.
Yep. Yeah. Very cool. Now, speaking of a cool opening pilot, did either of you guys see Constantine?
I did, and that's also a comic book show.
Yep.
Yeah, Constantine. Steven, did you see Constantine?
I didn't see this yet. No, I have to put this down. So you write this down. I'm like,
good. Yeah, in my opinion, it puts the movie to shame.
I would
just the pilot.
My only disappointment with it was the girl in danger. She was too much that classic idiot in a horror movie in the beginning. Like she was so dumb. I was like, oh really? But Constantine is just so good. His character's so well written. So
I love that he's Irish.
Yeah, he's this
and not whatever Keanu Reeves.
Yeah,
is.
so he's an Irish, essentially exorcist. Right? And the show opens, and he's in an insane a mental health institute getting shock therapy of his own volition. He's actually checked himself in. Voluntarily getting himself essentially tortured because he feels so guilty for something a mission he recently failed on. More about that in the show. And so, but he's just a sarcastic guy, and he interfaces with these demons and these angels and all these other creatures of hell and whatever, and he's just totally nonchalant about it. He's like, oh, here we go. It's just.
I don't know this one at all. So now you're tantalizing me.
I think it just premiered last week. It just kicked off.
Yeah, it just premiered last week.
Yeah,
and I loved it.
Yeah,
I liked
too.
it better than Gotham.
Me too. Well, I didn't like it better than Gotham.
Are you saying though it's comic? It's a comic.
Yes. There's a DC comic
based on a comic book.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, there's a DC comic called with the same name that it's based on.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's a great show. What other great comic book shows are we watching this either this season or I'm loving Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think it's been kicked up a notch since the whole S.H.I.E.L.D. falling apart and everything sort of taking over the plots after Captain America. I'm really enjoying it.
This show is just people who have not who watched a couple of the first episodes from the first season last year at this time and then just gave up. They are missing something so amazing that's going on, in my opinion. And the way that this TV series was tied into the movies, into Winter Soldier, Captain America 2, Winter Soldier.
And loosely into Thor, too. They all tied together.
And Thor, yeah.
I mean, off the hook, the way they did that.
Yep.
And you continuously don't know who's the good guys and who's the bad guys and what people's agendas are. I mean, if you haven't started watching this, please do yourself a favor. Start from the season 1, episode 1, get through those few things and watch it. There's a point in that first season where you're then supposed to go watch Captain America 2. If you haven't seen that, watch that and then continue on. And
if you were watching it live, it was particularly good. And the character development too is really impressing me. Also, in the first season, and this is just a classic Joss Whedon thing, right? But in the first season, the characters felt kind of two-dimensional. You thought you knew everybody. But as they've evolved in the second season now, and this is why it's so disappointing what happened to Firefly, because as the characters evolve in Joss Whedon's universe, they get really interesting. And in this second season now, you're really seeing the characters. Some of the guys who are comic relief in season 1 are now, tragic figures. It's just,
right. Yeah, absolutely.
It's just, oh my God, so it's really interesting. Great show. So, really loving it. So, what else? Let's see. Steven, what else you got for comic book shows?
I guess the 1-2 punch of Arrow and Flash, I think is been doing very good.
I'm a little disappointed. I've gone up and down on Arrow, and I can't bring myself to catch up. I watched the first season. I got a little way in the second season. I don't know. I get disenchanted. What my problem is.
I'm not like in love with Arrow. It definitely and Flash for the same thing. They both have the CW treatment you know, as in the network, the CW. Everything is very schmaltzy. You know, they have to they go too heavily into the relationships and everything's like everybody's it's a big drama thing, you know, between the characters, which is kind of weird, and it takes away from the overall plots, I think. However, I enjoy the characters quite a bit. Arrow, the way that they did Arrow with, again, not giving too much away, you know, there's this whole backstory to him. He was on an island for many years. You find that out very quickly. Right. And what, you know, and how that happened in the flashbacks. I absolutely love that. Those flashbacks to his experience on the island, are so good and so integral in the first season and part of the second season. I'm really excited about it. The character of Felicity on this show, I think she is so good. It's an actual character in the comics too. Yeah. But the actress is so good at portraying like this absolute geek who's absolutely gorgeous, of course, too. But she's an absolute geek, and the way that she can't communicate right. And no, I overall, you know, net. I think Arrow is a good thing to watch. So I have been enjoying that now in its next season.
Yeah, I will say that I'm enjoying it. It's my guilty pleasure as far as all of these go, because it is really schmaltzy and kind of like, you know, it's all these young, attractive people running around being sort of silly. However, because it's right on the edge of, because it's my guilty pleasure, it's sort of right on the edge of what I can tolerate, and I enjoy it unabashedly. I will say I enjoy it, but I don't need any more of it, and so I haven't even tried Arrow. I mean Flash.
Yeah, that's the way I haven't tried Flash at all. Although people tell me they think it's better than Arrow. Stephen, what's your take on Flash? Is it a stronger show than Arrow is?
It is at least as good. Okay, it's only third episode now. Right. Now we're basically, because Arrow is very based on realism's not the right word it was, but it's, you know, the Green Arrow is a human being, and he's got, you know, doesn't have any superpowers. Like he's like Batman, right? Right. He's got Batman in a lot of ways without the intellect. So he's got the physicality and he's got the money, but he doesn't have. He doesn't have the huge intellect. He's got Felicity to do that because she's the computer person. So that keeps that, you know, like realism to the show. The Flash now, you know, it's bringing in the whole like metahumans, right? Superpowers, and that portion. So now in this universe, in the same universe, and the characters are kind of touching each other.
There's a crossover. Like Flash appears as a cameo in Arrow before the show spins off.
Yes, right. Exactly. Yeah. Right. And vice versa. Now some of their characters are coming back into Flash. I'm enjoying it too. It's early on. Probably in the end it might even be better. But Flash is a very hard character to write for because he is a very, very powerful character in the comics. He can be as powerful as almost anyone because he can, you know, when you're that fast, you can bend time essentially, right? You can do so many things before the other person can react. So you need villains that can counteract that. So the jury's still out. As a, you know, net again, very well done. Both of these shows are very well done. I think they're worth watching. I don't think they're nearly up to the level of Gotham or Shield, but I think net they're good watches, and it just shows more of the fact that there's so much good geek stuff going on TV that you know, we're in a really good period of time for this.
Oh yeah. So that's a lot of comic book shows. What are the categories you got here?
I just created a category of, I don't know, sci-fi, fantasy, horror kind of thing.
Oh, let's put all that. That sounds like a great mashup.
I mean, that's kind of, you know, because you can't kind of put individual categories. You won't have enough there. So it's kind of a good mashup. Have you guys seen Orphan Black?
I have. Nicole and I love Orphan Black. Oh, that show is fantastic.
Wow.
Just so good. I can't wait for the next season. And don't forget, there's a great cameo, a significant cameo of Rune Wars in Orphan Black.
That's true.
Yeah. yes. I was like, what are they talking about?
What's great about the two is it's not just like in the background on a table. Like they're actually discussing the rules and the pieces, and they're right. Like, if you're playing rumors, she's actually correct because there's a bunch of geeks behind her playing, and she's a geek also. So she turns around, she's like, oh, no, here's what you should do. And she's telling him, like, you should move this, and she's naming all the units properly, and it actually makes sense, and the cards. So whoever wrote that into the show has played Rune Wars.
I can't. I completely forgot about that, but that is brilliant.
But
what is Orphan Black about? We should tell people.
We should.
Well, do you want to ruin it though? I mean, what it's about is really like spoiler-ish.
Yeah. Well, from the very beginning, from the very first episode.
No, you did.
Okay, well, all right.
By the first episode, I think it's a big reveal is what I'm saying.
All right, so it's just a great, give the show 2 episodes, and you'll get
I liked it.
Yeah.
I do think the latest season finale kind of left me a little,
all right.
But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot.
I like it.
It's along the same. I was watching that at the same time I was watching Almost Human.
Ooh, Almost Human's on. Now, which one, U.S. or British?
Almost Human, U.S. I guess. I don't know. Is there a British one?
Yes.
What's that one about?
I might be thinking of the wrong show.
I think you are. Almost Human is the one. Blah 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 blah. What's his name? I forget. The guy from the new Star Trek.
Oh, Bones. Yes.
Yeah, Bones is the character.
You're right. They didn't get canceled.
Carl Urban.
No, you're right. I was thinking of the wrong show.
Carl Urban.
Yeah, so Almost Human.
That was a great show, and it got canceled.
Awesome.
It was a futuristic cop show.
Yes.
That was phenomenal, and they did such a great job. It was very Infinity-esque.
Or Blade Runner. It was Blade Runner / Infinity. Yeah, it was always good. I liked it a lot. I'm bummed that it got canceled. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. What's the human show with the word human in the title that's got the vampire and the werewolf and the ghost?
I forget, but I never wanted to watch that.
That was a good show. What's that show? I forget what it's called. I thought it was Almost Human. That's not it. Being Human, that's the one.
Being Human, that's it. Yeah.
I got confused between Being Human and Almost Human because the beings on Being Human are almost human. See how I did that?
Yeah, so Almost Human was awesome.
Yeah, Being Human's also very good.
And they were right at the end of the season. They were introducing all kinds of cool concepts that you knew they were going to start exploring. Yep. And the wall. Yeah, that's a bummer. That's a big bummer. There's a few big bummers in this list.
That must have been a Fox show. Yes, it was.
Was it? I think
it was Fox. Yes, of course it was.
Yeah, of course it was.
Fox just shouldn't watch
and
sci-fi.
in the same vein of futuristic, near future, modernish is of course Continuum.
Ooh,
which
yes.
Watching. And
David Weber turned us on in Continuum when he was on the show, and
yes, he did,
it's a really good show. Now I fell off.
Did you see the season finale yet?
I'm still a season behind. I'm still on season 2. I never got to the end of season 2. Not because it wasn't good. I got distracted. I think Game of Thrones came out, so I started watching that. Nicole and I don't watch that much shows, so we got distracted, and then we didn't come back to Continuum. But I'd like to.
Okay, well here you go. Ready? The season finale of Continuum was like wow, and that's why I was like Orphan Black. I was like because I think I saw the season finales like within a week or two of each other. I've got 2 words for you. Continuum season finale. Power armor.
Ooh, done. Now, Stephen, are you familiar with Continuum?
I don't know Continuum at all. No.
So Continuum's a Sci-Fi Channel show, and this is about a police officer from 60 years, 75 years in the future.
Yeah.
So it's in the future. There's a lot of change. There's flying cars and some of that stuff, but. Anyway, a bunch of bad guy terrorist dudes managed to get a time machine and go back in time to our time. She gets sucked into it. And now she and the villains are back in our time, but some of her technology comes with her, and now you're meeting all these people when they're young kids. Like, you meet one of the, and this isn't really a spoiler at all, the equivalent of Bill Gates in the future, the super genius guy who owns the entire universe, is like a kid now in our time. And so she's meeting with him and trying to influence him and help him become the man he should be, but be a good guy about it. And there's just all this interesting stuff going on there. Really great show. I really enjoyed it. Good, almost like hard sci-fi. Really good.
Yeah. Now I will warn you that it gets silly political for 2 episodes. Really just silly. Why did you bother? And then you could tell they went, oh crap, what did we do? And then kind of completely lost that. I mean, there's a certain political thread that's built into the story that's awesome and necessary. They went a little weird and in depth into it and then pulled back, which was good. But many people might think the season finale kind of is heading towards jumping the shark with power armor, but I'm just too big a fan of power armor.
Okay, fair enough. What else you got on your list there, Stephen, for sci-fi, fantasy / horror?
Well, we mentioned Game of Thrones already, and I'm going to make
so good.
Yeah.
I'm going to make the very bold statement that it's possibly some of the best television ever done. I mean, that it's.
Yeah, I
in
agree.
My opinion,
I agree, especially when you consider
that good.
It's definitely one of the best adaptations of a book to a video medium.
It's the only example where I still think to this day they're doing a better job than the actual books.
You could argue. You're
losing all kinds of subplots and side characters.
Yeah.
You're totally losing that, and they're making up. They're sort of fabricating some things, but for the most part, I think they've sort of laser focused in on the main storyline.
Oh, I agree.
In a way that I think tells the story better.
Oh, I agree.
Especially the later you get in the books.
And Craig, there's so much story in those books that. And by the way, I haven't read any of them. I've only read read the first one, so I haven't read any of this other stuff. But I know there's because people have told me bits and pieces. So there's so much story that they you have to, when you adapt any piece of writing into a TV or a movie, you're gonna have to leave stuff out, and you're gonna have to leave out details. I think they're just doing an unreal job. And the characters and the way they're bringing them to life, and the fact that they're throwing $2 million an episode or whatever crazy number.
I was going to say the fact that their budget's much bigger than it was in the first season is awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
It's just brilliant. And anybody who hasn't seen this, who is a geek at all, just please do yourself a favor. Start from the beginning and just go through this. You will love Game of Thrones. It's good on every level. I mean, a little violent, a little nudity involved, but if
very
you can
gross,
get through that kind of stuff, adult stuff, you're gonna love this show.
Yep. No, it's good stuff.
Absolutely.
Good stuff.
And I think the other big one in this general genre is Walking Dead, of course. That's been now in its 4th season or so, 5th season. Just started up. Fantastic, doing well. It's had its ups and downs, I think, but overall the characters evolve, the storyline evolves. I'm back to being a fan of the show, whereas at one point I was kind of like, oh, you guys are kind of doing this again, but I'm back to being a big fan of the show, and I think they're doing a good job, and it's it's a hot topic, right? Zombies are really big right now. I think they're doing a great job, and again, a good budget to make this stuff pretty darn scary for television.
Oh no, we're in season 5. You're right.
Season 5
of The Walking Dead. Wow.
Now, I think I'm the only geek on the planet that doesn't watch this show.
Well, you've never really been big on zombies.
No, I'm not a big zombie guy. Let's be honest.
It's but it's one of those things. Like it's got its great moments, and it's got its like dull season. Like season 2, I think they spent the entire time on a farm, and it was like, really?
The one where they spent the whole thing on a farm was pretty lame.
Yep.
Right.
But I agree, Stephen. Mm-hmm. I love this show. I think this season that's just started has been like they're only I think 2 episodes in, but they have pulled no punches. And the opening episode for this season was one of my favorite episodes of any TV show ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the one woman attack on a giant evil empire was just phenomenal. It was awesome.
It was awesome. I think it's the 3rd. I think I just saw the 3rd episode.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
And without going into anything, the whole thing around the church was very, very, very. Oh my God! Very interesting.
And what they're doing, which is awesome, and they can do this because this actually should be in comic books, of course, because it comes from a comic book. But they're really leveraging the character development from these first seasons.
Yeah.
So that just a couple words or even a look is really communicating just volumes to you as a viewer. And they're really just using that to sort of heighten the tension and introducing new characters that are really intriguing. And still, I mean, they're famous for holding no punches. So, there's that. But, and I think one of the many things I loved about Almost Human, where they did so much world building in the background. I think The Walking Dead does that also, where you can just tell just from little glimpses you see of the rest of the world in the background of like what's happening and what effect this had, and little stories that you can just tell from like the bodies that you see in the background. I just think it's a really well done show. And I think ever since they got off that farm, I think it's been pretty damn good.
Yeah, exactly. And good in different ways, which is really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
The last season where they were separated quite a bit, and they were showing how each group was managing. There was amazing character building going on there. So yeah, really good stuff. So high on that show once again.
Yep, absolutely. Now, Russ, are you still watching Sleepy Hollow?
I am with a passion. I love Sleepy Hollow.
I love where that's going.
That show has just gotten better in the second season.
Really?
Yes. Did you watch it at all, Steven, the first season?
No, I mean I know of it, but didn't watch it at all.
The premise is fantastic. The Ichabod's character is just wonderful. The way they interface him with modern times is awesome. For those who don't know, it's the Legend of Sleepy Hollow, of course, about Ichabod Crane and the Headless Horseman, but of course has been extended to be of an entire series. And Ichabod Crane is a Revolutionary War soldier who is essentially killed during the war fighting one of the horsemen of the apocalypse. In the process, he manages to decapitate the horseman, making him therefore headless. Meanwhile, Ichabod himself is killed but preserved and comes back in our time, as does the Headless Horseman, and they continue their battle in our modern era. And there's all kinds of other ancillary characters, and the apocalypse is coming, and you find there's the other things happen. I don't want to spoil it, but really, really great stuff. I love the banter between him and his partner. He's basically a cop's partner now, essentially.
Yeah.
But it's just the whole dialogue, the whole interaction, the characters are great, the acting's fantastic. I think the writing is really, really wonderful. His lines are just always great. And I like how they do the villains.
I love that they introduced a relic hunter in this season.
Yes.
I love that there's the sort of the archetypal relic hunter is now in there.
He's like, yeah, I know all this crazy stuff exists. I'm just in it for the money.
Exactly. He's like, oh, Pied Piper's flute. Yeah, I'll take that. I will do X, Y, and Z for you if you give me that flute.
They're like, what? So it's just good stuff. It definitely worth a watch, Stephen. Sleepy Hollow, great show.
Yep, absolutely. Awesome. And then back to sci-fi.
Yeah, why not?
With Defiance and Dominion. With my two Ds.
So Defiance I am loving. It's my new Babylon 5. I think all the different aliens in the town.
With all the different aliens.
Yeah, it just feels like that. You get the political. Remember Londo in Babylon 5? He's the guy you love to hate or hate to love.
Sure.
And you got that now in Defiance with what's his name there, Craig.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting
I
their
can't
names.
remember the guy who's all white.
He and his wife.
Yeah.
Are just so good. They're so deliciously evil and just great.
That would be Datak Tar.
Yes. And what's his wife's name? What's his wife's name?
His wife's name is Stamatar.
Yeah. Oh man, they're both so awesome and they're so evil. I love it. That show just gets better and better. I love Defiance.
So it's still on. You
oh yeah.
I actually thought I hadn't heard about it. I watched the beginning, several episodes, and I don't remember how many. And it didn't seem like it was going any place that I wanted. So I was busy. I just dropped it. So, but you're saying it's really, really been good. It's probably
I think it gets great.
Season now, right?
I think it gets great. I like the end of the first season.
It just finished its second season.
And the second, they had some trouble in the beginning of the first season. They weren't very ambitious with the CGI, and it didn't pull off. Like it looks like I love the idea of the war that happened in the very beginning, the pilot and a couple episodes, but it didn't look good. Like they just didn't quite pull it off. And they kind of pulled back from that and went more into character development and more into things happening at a local level, and that works much better. It's much more Star Trek now with mostly makeup and less to do all the CGI effects, and it just works for me better anyway. So and their politics are cool, characters are neat, and I like where they're going with some of the internal struggles with the characters.
Cool.
So it's good stuff.
Oh yay! They officially renewed for the third season in September.
Defiance, go!
Nice.
There you
go. What about Dominion, Craig? I'm a little nervous about Dominion.
I'm gonna tell you, Dominion. The season finale is still on my TiVo.
Yeah, I watched 4 episodes and stopped on Dominion.
I'll say that it's tipping a little bit more into the sci-fi, typical sci-fi has some amazing titles in their catalog.
Yeah,
and then they've got. Yeah, everything else.
For every Battlestar Galactica, they got 30 shows that just suck.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, they do.
Yeah, it's true. So for me, that one is. I might finish that last episode just to see where it goes, and it's got some neat stuff going on there. But for the most part, there's not a lot of depth. The characters aren't really deep. They're not really three-dimensional. There's the manipulative, bad political guy, and there's the military leader with a secret, and there's really not a lot of depth.
This is the show with angels in it, right? So we should probably clarify.
Yeah, the angels have actually come back. God has disappeared. Nobody knows, including the angels, where he went. God disappeared. The angels have decided that they're sick of waiting for him, so they've come to destroy all of mankind for a reason I'm not
entirely clear.
And Michael the Archangel is the only one who really wants to save humanity, so he's helping us.
Right.
And of course, there's the chosen one, the human guy who's got tattoos all over his body. It's actually based on a movie,
right?
And the star from the movie was in the first couple of episodes, sort of to hand off the baton to his son, so to speak.
We should also mention that the humans, the great bastion of the humans, they're held up in Sin City, of course, Las Vegas.
In Las Vegas, which they've made a walled. Right. I mean, it's really cool visually. They've made made Las Vegas a walled bastion in the middle of the desert.
They've got all these automatic guns for shooting down, for shooting down angels.
Because they're shooting down angels. Right. And I mean, it's neat. It could be a lot more, and cool. It's not. And I've got a lot of other things I need to watch.
That's sort of the problem.
Yeah.
And this is the problem, Stephen, with, as you mentioned in the beginning of this segment, there's so many good geeky shows. I can't remember the number of times where I've turned away from decent geeky shows because I only have so many hours to watch shows, and there's so many great ones.
Right.
You know what I mean?
We've already mentioned like a dozen or more.
There was a time where something like this On and Office Dominion would be like the best sci-fi on television, and now it's like, well, it's okay, but with shows like Orphan Black and Gotham to watch, I don't have time for angels that aren't that don't have really good writing.
Right. Yeah. Right. I think that's one of the keys is that there's not a lot of really good writing going on there.
Right.
And then we get into like the ones that are just the general geekiness. How about Big Bang Theory? I mean, this show continues to impress. Season after season. What are we on the 7th season of the show?
I love Big Bang Theory, but I got to say the last. So if you go back and watch, and it's easy to do because they're in syndication now. If you go back and watch like the first and second season of Big Bang Theory, it's noticeably better than the current seasons of Big Bang Theory. I think I still like the show and I still watch it, but I think they've lost something now that they've got pretty much everybody paired up, and they're all sort of in happily ever after mode. It's got more into a couple show, like a Friends type show, than a show about geeks trying to survive in the world of normal people,
Respectfully, I disagree.
Okay, go for it.
No, but it's I mean, I see exactly what you're saying, but the fact that they have put this group of people together that would, many of them would never be friends to begin with. Like Penny could never be friends with these two women, but yet that they're having these crazy situations. I'm still loving it. They're still coming up for me again. They're still coming up with these wild situations. They let Raj now, of course, he's now speaking, which opens up a whole bunch of different things. Right. So I'm still loving it, and I watch a lot of the reruns. It's sort of like nothing's on tape here, and we got nothing to do. Let me go see what's let me go find the reruns because it's like being played constantly. I just go find the reruns.
It's on all the time, right?
On regular TV, or just go on demand and just pick season whatever and start watching a couple. So I do love it. I do know what you mean. It's changed, but to me, one of the marks of a great television show, especially comedies, is that they evolve so much over time. You look at MASH back in the day. Yep. They kept bringing. A character would leave, they bring another character on that was completely different than any other character, and it would still be a great show because they just wrote it well. So I'm a big fan of Big Bang.
I think that's what Big Bang needs. I think Big Bang needs some rotating geeks.
Maybe
because I think for me they're becoming too well adapted. Like they're solving all their geeky problems, so it's kind of like they're not as geeky. I don't know. I don't know. I still like it. Don't get me wrong. It's just I don't know. It's lost a little bit of its charm for me.
Well, Steven, this is what you were hoping for. This I disagree with you completely. See, so there you go.
All right.
This can be our. What was the movie last year that was I was.
Oh, it was Ender's Game.
Ender's Game. This is the Ender's Game of 2014. I've never understood Big Bang Theory. I've never enjoyed it. I don't get it, but I know I'm in the minority, and I know that it's great for everyone else on the planet. So
yeah.
There you go. So as
opposed to Ender's Game, which I will go to my death defending my opinion of that as not that great. But anyway, moving on.
I'm glad you remembered that. Good. Okay, moving right on. What else we have? Sherlock.
Oh, this is one of the best shows ever made for television.
This one I've missed, but I want to see.
Craig, it's only 6 episodes because it's only 2 seasons, or is it 3 seasons now? I guess it's
2 seasons, and they've hinted at seasons.
So it's one of those British shows where each season is 3 episodes, but they're 3 2-hour essentially movies.
Yeah.
So you still got that 6 hours of entertainment. It's just 3 episodes each. And man, this is the show that obviously one of the shows that made Cumberbatch, but what a great show. Of course, Watson is also a hobbit, so that works out for you pretty well. But it just is a great show. The cast is phenomenal. I mean, just phenomenal.
The production of the show where they're like
trying
to explain like how he does these things, how Sherlock does them. It's just for everybody out there. It's called Sherlock. It's not the one that's on whatever it is, ABC, called Elementary. This is a BBC show, and it takes place in modern times in London, and it is Sherlock Holmes, modern times, and he's helping the police solve just the way he does it back in, in the books, and it is. The way that they show and portray him is so clever and so interesting. You got to just see this to believe it.
And he's flawed in the right way. So it's very much, I mean, he's quintessential Sherlock Holmes in such a great way, but they brought him forward to modern times so very well. I love the way they show the quick clips of how he's observing and deducting as he does his thing, and they tie it in great ways. Like he leverages technology. So one minute he's using the internet, the next minute he's using his smartphone very cleverly, so they write it all into modern times and really take good advantage of it. So it's really fantastic. And again, the acting, as you can tell from the cast, if you look at that cast names, they're in like almost all the great movies you've seen lately have one of these people in them. And it's just a really, really wonderful show. Just, I can't speak highly enough for this show. I know we raved about Gotham, but this is levels above Gotham that I think this is just some of the best, visual entertainment you can experience. It's just really great.
Very intellectual as well as exactly right. As just, a geeky kind of show. So
yeah, exactly right. We're running a little long. I think this got to be our last bit. So Craig, you have any comments on, you haven't seen Sherlock, Craig?
I have not, no.
Oh, man.
No.
Man, well, you got to watch it.
And, of course, it's fall, so it's going to be very hard for me to wedge in.
Once your play's over, go watch it on Netflix or...
Yeah. Once the play's over, I actually get to spend time with my family again. So the time doesn't really just segue back into more fun
Gather around the television with the family, order some pizza, and enjoy a great murder mystery. Right.
So this segment became Geek TV, as opposed to all the other cool things.
Well, we didn't realize.
That gives us plenty of things to talk about otherwise.
Plenty of future segments.
We're not going to get into geek movies?
We don't have time. Buonocore,
we really
don't. We could do another whole segment on geek movies. I think that's what we're going to do.
Can I come back?
Yes,
no,
you can come back.
Buonocore, you're not invited.
No, of course you're invited back. Once a year, you can pick your favorite geek topic to discuss.
There you go.
I can come back next year to talk about the geek movies that we're going to talk about this year.
Right. No, we'll get you back on here, Stephen. That'd be great.
Okay.
So, but that's awesome. Stephen, thank you so much for joining us today. Really, really appreciate it. What a great topic.
Especially you were so exhausted.
Yeah. If people want to find out what you're up to, what Stronghold Games is doing, where should they go to check out all that on the internet?
As always, please go to our website, strongholdgames.com. Sign up for our newsletter there on the right side. You get about one per month. We don't spam you. Don't worry about that. Please follow us on Twitter at Stronghold Games. Facebook, you can like us /Stronghold Games. As we will talk about, because this is like, we kind of record out of sequence here. So as we will talk about in a little bit, the Essen releases, we had so many releases this year. It was a huge year for Stronghold Games. And I promise you, everybody, if you're following us, you're going to find out more and more excellent things coming for 2015. I want to thank the gamers out there that have embraced Stronghold so fully and have made us really what we are. And it's humbling to be in a position now after 5 years. This is 5 years since almost to the day, really, that Stronghold started. It was October of 2009 where we signed the papers to start the company.
Wow.
Thank you very much for embracing Stronghold over the time and staying with us. And thank you, too, really, for what you do for the hobby, for having me on especially, but also for what you do for the hobby and bringing, this kind of entertainment and this kind of news out to all the gamers out there. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, Stephen. Thanks for being such a big supporter of the show for all this time, too.
I really appreciate it. And it's just thanks for building Stronghold Games, because you guys have delivered some fantastic both new titles and reprints that really need to be reprinted and printed it with a quality and a level that only Stronghold Games can provide.
Grail titles.
Grail titles.
I remember
exactly.
the very first time Stephen mentioned Grail titles, and I didn't know what it meant. Now I know.
We do. We do. So thanks again, Stephen, and we will see you again in the future, of course, and look forward to hearing from you and hearing you on all the other various...
You know what? The next time we end up alone in Dunkin' Donuts, Stephen, we will call you in.
We'll call you to talk about
movies.
movies.
will have a talk about movies.
That seems
that sounds
Let's
great.
do that.
How about that?
Could I be on like a Dunkin' Donuts?
You could be on a lost chapter. We'll get you in there, Stephen.
That seems like that would make
That's the way to do
sense to me.
That's a really good one. Actually, I think we actually did that last time I was on. We talked about movies.
It's time to talk about them again. You know, they come out with new ones every year. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
That's right, yeah.
Awesome. All right, Stephen. Thanks again.
All right,
Stephen.
thank you guys. Bye-bye.
This Did You Ever Notice is brought to you by all of our fine friends over at Patreon. That's right, these are the men and women who help out by kicking in a little tip in the tip jar every episode and make it possible to do all of these massive megasodes and not get a divorce. Thanks in particular this time around to Chris Young, Adam Pitzer, Adam Harder, Chris Reyes, and Kevin Smith. Probably not that Kevin Smith. Probably a better Kevin Smith is the way I would think of it. So thanks, guys. And for those of you who haven't checked it out yet, go to patreon.com and look up the D6 Generation and check out our video. And if you're so moved, kick in a couple bucks there, get access to all the lost chapters for no additional cost, and help make the show the best it can be with as few ads as possible. Thanks, guys. Did you ever notice that there are certain things you can never have enough of? And I'm not talking about money, or fame, fortune, love, all the things that the D6 Generation has brought to us. I'm talking more along the lines of something like bits. So this particular little Did You Ever Notice is obviously going to be geared more towards the modelers out there, and even further biased into a sub-niche to those modelers who like playing games that have customizable models, and even more narrowing it down further, pretty much to just Games Workshop modelers who have access to vast numbers of bits, both from Games Workshop. If you look at all the different sprues and all the different bits that they give you to give all kinds of different selections, and then on top of that, all of the really amazing third-party companies that make bits now to do all sorts of things, like make a pre-heresy army that doesn't cost you $1,000. And I say this with all due respect to all of the other modelers and board gamers and card gamers and role players out there. But honestly, everybody should try at some point or another to find one of these plastic kits or bits, or just do a bits search like on eBay and find some cool stuff. You can do all kinds of neat stuff with these bits, fantasy, science fiction, all kinds of cool stuff. But you can never have enough bits, and that's the sad, sad truth. And it's really sort of ridiculous. Long-time listeners will recall the forensic tracery of my bits collection. When I was in college, I had a bits box, and it actually was the box that I believe it came with 3 rhinos back then. 3 of the original plastic rhinos, the first vehicle that came out for Warhammer 40,000. And all of my bits, little extra bits. And the sprues didn't come with a lot of extra bits back then. Well, that's not true, because the Space Marine 01 sprue had a couple different kinds of bayonet blades, and it had, I think that one had a flamer and a missile launcher too, which is kind of cool, because those are the 2 standard weapons that have come with pretty much every sprue since then. But, not different helmets. They all had the same helmets. There was some pistols, and there was, the bolt gun, and there was the backpacks, but it had a couple bits. So there were some bits in there. The rhinos, I don't think, had any extra bits. So there weren't a lot of bits. But in college, back in the very, very early 90s, I had a bits box. Then I graduated college, and by the time I graduated college, I had a bits crate, basically, which was most of my roommate. My roommate, who was the son of a white-collar criminal, and that should have clued me in. When he failed to pay his share of any of the bills, and eventually said, "I'm never going to pay you." He was straight up when it mattered. He said, "I'm never going to pay you, but I'll give you all of these bits because I'm not going to play Warhammer 40,000 anymore now that I've graduated." And I was like, "Okay, fine, I'll take your bits." And that's where my bits box crate thing just started, and it was just all kinds of orc stuff because he did orcs. I didn't do orcs at that point, but I had the big giant bits box thing. Then I went home. And didn't have a lot of free time, bounced around from job to job, worked at a radio station, worked in a factory, worked for United Airlines in various different capacities, and then decided I didn't want to do any of that, so went to graduate school where I was far too busy to do pretty much any gaming, except at one point go and buy the original introductory box set of BattleTech, which had all those metal, plastic, the first plastics, and I never actually played that box, but at least I bought that. Then I graduated from graduate school and came home and became a teacher. I had two opportunities. I was given an opportunity to go to one of the most prestigious training theaters in the country, or go back and teach at my old high school. And for a variety of reasons I won't go into right now, I went back and I teach now at the high school that I attended. But what that did allow me to do was go back into gaming. And so I got an apartment, and with the apartment, I was able to go from a bits crate to a bits closet. And I had a whole closet that was nothing but bits with shelves. Cause at this point, they had started the bits service, but the GW bit service at that time was only if you had misplaced a bit, or if, something had come without the right bit. And then I had some friends in the company, and I would get bits from them every now and then. And the sprues started having more and more bits as well. So I had a lot more. That's when Mordheim started. So I had lots of Mordheim bits, and very, very cool stuff. Necromunda didn't really come with a lot of bits, but I had lots of different arms because I was only making a certain kind of guy. Super exciting. That's when my real use of bits started, and most of my armies became more and more differentiated from your standard down under models that you would see, somebody who was just building right out of the box. I really started to get into using the bits. And then I moved into a condo where my bits closet became a bits basement, which is to date the largest single space I had for bits, and that was amazing. And then I was working for Games Workshop while I lived there, so I was just getting like crates of bits. It just got completely out of control. This is the time when I decided, I want to do a pre-heresy, a Space Marine army, so I started collecting all of the bits that I would need to do that. So I had just had a crap ton of bits that I was developing and putting together. I had gone through 2 Space Marine armies, and then that was 3 if you count my actually 4 if you count my Space Wolves and my, Grey Knights. And I was planning on the 5th being this pre-heresy army, using bits that I'd been collecting years and years and years and years and years. And then finally we bought a house, and my bits basement needed to be condensed into a bits boiler room, which had much more shelving than the bits basement, which kind of just had everything spread out all over the place. But I had to organize by fantasy and 40K and non-GW, and I can't describe to you just the shelves of bits that I had at that point. Still have, actually, but now they're scattered to the 4 winds because my wife decided she needed to store all of her stuff in the boiler room, but that's neither here nor there. So here I am. I've decided I'm going to do this. I'm going to go in. I'm going to build my pre-heresy Space Marine army, for which I have been collecting bits for over 10 years. I'm all excited. I start going through the bits. I have to get a lot of them out of the attic, of course. I'm right now staring at a giant stack of cardboard boxes of bits that were in the attic for over a year. Dug them all out, find all my bits, which is not easy because, in my head I'm thinking, I'm keeping all of this organized, but I'm not. And then I realized that I didn't have nearly as many bits as I wanted. Of course, because you can never have enough bits. I'm like Silas Marner with gold. Little classical, literary reference there for you. And so I ended up spending, when you get right down to it, and I'm totally honest, and I just add it all up, over $100 in just little plastic bits. And now, luckily, I've justified this because I've actually used all of those bits that I bought recently for this project. So I'm very excited. Their models are all made. Half the army is now painted. I'm working on the next 25% right now. Everything is stalled because now we're in tech and production week, so I really can't do anything. But I'm very excited. I've used up almost all these bits. I'm actually going to give away all of my remaining Space Marine bits because I can't imagine myself ever making a sixth Space Marine. The Sheik's sixth sheep is sick. Anyway, I can't see myself ever spending the time and effort to make a sixth Space Marine army. So I'm super, super excited that I've finally, put all these bits to use. And that was all the gaming stuff I managed to do in the last 2 months. But man, was it worth it. And when I get this army finally painted up and to a standard that I enjoy and appreciate, I will put it up somewhere and you'll be able to see it. And so that's been I'm just proving that I'm still a gamer, at least on some level. And that's all I have to say about that, my little bits journey. And I'm super excited that I've used up all my Space Marine bits that I wanted to, and I'm going to give away the rest in this season of giving. And that's all I've got to say about that. See, I'm trying to bring it back to gameriness. So thanks for listening, those of you who stuck with it to the end. And good night.
Achievement unlocked. You've made it to the end of another D6 Generation episode, the podcast whose humor has universally been acclaimed as not too horrible. Please let us know what you thought of the show by either emailing us at info@the d6generation.com or by posting in our official D6G episode thread at the top of the DACA Discussions Forum on DACA.com. If for some inexplicable reason you actually enjoyed this show, you can help others find out about it by leaving positive reviews on iTunes. See you in 2 weeks. Thanks for listening, and happy gaming.
The theme from Total Fangirl comes from the soundtrack of The Last Night on Earth, the zombie game, courtesy of Flying Frog Productions, and is a composition of Mary Beth Magalanes.
Checking levels now. So, Steven, if you want to do some Aerosmith, that's fine.
Some Aerosmith.
Or whatever. Whatever
Tyler?
you do. Yeah. You can't do Steven Tyler? Seriously?
What, you want me to do some Steven Tyler?
That's a weakness of yours? I didn't realize you had weaknesses.
Well, I only have so much range here, It's a little hard.
All right. Good. We got some levels. Craig, give me some levels. I need some levels from you, too.
Caribbean Queen. Now we're sharing the same dream, and our hearts make beat as one.
Wow.
No more love on the road.
That's pretty good. All right.
It was soft.
It's music, or not.